तिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। श्रीमतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्य श्रवण कीर्तनम हृद्यन्तस्त्वभद्राणि विधुनोति सुरसताम्। सर्वशास्त्रादि पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाध्य सर्वलौकिक दृक्प्रदा सर्वभागवत प्राणा श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभु कलिदन्तोतितादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाठाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वदा सर्वसेवाय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तुते। मद एक बंधु मद संगे मद गुरुन् मद महाधन मद निष्ठारक मद भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते। असाधु साधु दादायिन् अति नीचो तथा करा हा नामुंचा कदाचिन् मां प्रेम न हृत् कंथयो स्पृह। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। Hare Krishna everyone, thank you all for joining. So today is the appearance day of Varahadev. So let's offer our obeisances to Varahadev. Shri Varahadev ki jai. Hare Krishna. And tomorrow is the appearance of our most beloved Nityananda Prabhu. Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. So thank you all so much. So we are in chapter 28. And 26 and 27 was basically Kapil Dev has explained Sankhya, right? Sankhya, we understood the aspect of Sankhya with Bhakti, right? With the aspects of Bhakti. The main focus of 26 and 27 is on the philosophy of Sankhya, and hence it was like such a technical section where we studied 24 elements with the 25th element of time. And then further, we actually understood each one of this, like what does consciousness mean? What does intelligence mean? What does the mind actually mean? So that was 26. And then in 27, further we actually came and Devotee asked the question that, okay, I understand Sankhya, but is that even possible for the soul to get free from these 25 elements? Right? And to answer to that question is basically Kapila Muni answers 27th chapter is basically based on that how the qualities that the Sankhya Yogi needs to cultivate, 18 qualities that we read. And then further, how does the Sankhya Yogi infer the presence of the living entity and also the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? So the Jiva is always a Sankhya yogi, he comes to a stage where he's always conscious of the Paramatma in the heart, right? And we discussed this point. And after that realization of the Paramatma in the heart, then Kapila Muni actually recommends that further, how does the jiva get liberated? And he again comes to a point of bhakti. Right? He says, he talks of the limbs of Sankhya Yoga, but along with that, what does he say? One has to hear, chirena, one has to hear for a very long time. And that is directly an aspect of bhakti. So we see basically like Sankhya, which leads on to bhakti, has been explained in 26 and 27. What was 25? Going before Satam Prasanga Mama Veera Samido. 25 was directly Bhakti, right? 26, 27 is Sankhya, which leads to Bhakti. Now 28 is Astanga Yoga that leads to Bhakti. Okay, so 28 one way is quite a devotional chapter. It starts off with the 8 limbs of Astanga Yoga, and compared to Sankhya, it is actually not so one way technical in the sense like that Sankhya has a point of a lot of analysis. We are doing the analysis of the elements and trying to understand the elements and trying to find how we are separate from the element. All that is Sankhya. But now we'll talk about Astanga Yoga, the 8 limbs. And then when we come to the higher aspects of your Astanga Yoga is meditation on the form of the Lord. So a major section of this chapter is description of the form of the Lord, and that is the Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and Prabhupada also mentions this point that for these verses is for a Astanga yogi when he comes to a stage, but also a Bhakti yogi will relish and meditate on these verses. So even for us, this text 28, chapter 28, is actually a chapter of direct meditation on each of the limbs of the Lord. So, so it's very powerful. So we'll come to that section. So major section of this chapter is just going to talk about the each limb of the Lord. What is the, how do you meditate on the form of the Lord on that aspect? And then, and then finally it comes to liberation of an Astanga yogi. So previous chapter was this liberation of a Sankhya yogi who has come to Bhakti. Now this chapter will be liberation of a Astanga yogi who comes to a stage of Bhakti. Okay, everyone okay? Ready to start? Any comments, questions up to this point? Everyone following the flow? Like initially, Kapila Muni, what did he say? He actually said, yes, I'll talk to you about Bhakti, Sankhya, and Yoga. Right? We read that in the starting in 25. He actually makes the point. Bhakti, Sankhya, Yoga. So Bhakti we read, Sankhya we read, now we are in Yoga. Okay, let's start. Everyone okay? Yes, ready to start? Okay.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, so text 1.
श्रीभगवानुवाच योगस्य लक्षणं वक्षे सबीजस्य नृपात्मजे मनो येनैव विधिना प्रसन्नं याति सत्पथम्. Divyanita Leela Mataji, are you able to start? I didn't put the list yet. Or maybe
Yes, Mataji. Give me 1 minute, Mataji. I'm having bad throat, so I'll try.
It's okay if you cannot read, Mataji. Then
No, bro, it's okay. This will be forever. I cannot. Okay. Translation. The personality of Godhead said, My dear mother, O daughter of the king, now I shall explain to you the system of yoga, the object of which is to concentrate the mind. By practicing this system, one can become joyful and progressively advance towards the path of absolute truth.
So what is this? So he's just starting this, and Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Kapil Dev is speaking. Nripa Atmaje. O daughter of the king. So he's addressing his mother as O daughter of the king. Yogasya Lakshanam Vakshe. So I'm going to talk about yoga Lakshanam Vakshe, which is actually proper translation Lakshanam as the description. So I'm going to describe this entire system of yoga, and it is Sabijasya. Sabijasya means authorized process. So Prabhupada actually comments on this in this point that yes, yoga, which is actually recommended, which is explained by Patanjali also, is actually a authorized process, right? And then yena manaha. And what is the goal of this yoga process? Yena manaha. The mind has to be concentrated, right? So this is actually, we see throughout the flow, again and again, Kapila Dev actually makes a point, how by this the mind will be concentrated. How through breathing exercise, the mind gets fixed, right? So focus on the mind. And then by practicing this, what will happen? Prasannam. One will become joyful. And then yati sat pattam. So Prabhupada, he explains this point. What is the goal of this yoga practice? One should progressively advance towards the Sat. Sat means the absolute truth. The goal of the Astanga Yoga is to progress towards the absolute truth. So Prabhupada, he actually makes this point that when one actually takes up Astanga Yoga process, then what does one get? Ashta Siddhis, right? We know the Ashtasiddhis, Anima, Lagima, Prapti, etc., etc., where one becomes lighter than the light, he becomes smaller than the small, heavier than the heaviest. He can actually, like Prabhupada made the point, he can stay in one place and he can actually bring a pomegranate all the way from Afghanistan. Prabhupada makes the point. Or he can bring a mango for India. That is the power. And one may say, oh wow, that's a nice power. But here, Prabhupada explains the point that an Astanga yogi, because this point is said that he should progress towards the Sat, towards the absolute truth, he should not be deviated by these Ashtasiddhis. Didn't we read about this in the previous chapter also? In chapter number 27, there was a verse towards the end where it actually said that a person, who is actually doing yoga, when after many lifetimes and when he is not deviated by this ashtasagis, then he can attain perfection, right? So I remember one of the classes this is early, many years back, Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj was doing Bhakti Shastri, and he was explaining about this Ashtasiddhi, each one of this Anima, Lagima, and he asked the students, like, so why are we learning all these? Because once we learn, it sounds attractive, right? Wouldn't you like, and also one of this is you can actually control nature. Imagine like it's too hot and you're like controlling nature and making like good weather or, and you can also get people under control, right? So he asked like this is actually one way because we are conditioned, our heart will be attracted to all these. Why are we studying all these? It's funny, the student said, Maharaj, our exams are there, Bhakti Shastri exams, so we need to write our exams, so therefore we need to study all this. But the point is, we need to be aware of all these, so that even a yogi, he knows that yes, these siddhis are coming, and I should not be distracted by them. Because, and this happens that when these Astanga yogis, when they actually get promoted to higher planets because of their yoga siddhis, and then when they actually come back to the earth planet, sometimes the residual of these siddhis actually remains with them. So they may take birth on this earth planet and they will have some siddhi. Like sometimes we hear of people who can like walk on water or they can levitate. That is what some residual of the Ashtasiddhi that they have practiced before. But because now they are not aware of it, they think, oh, I am special. Or they may say, I am God. Or I am this. Right? Because they're not aware that this is just a residual of the siddhis what I have got. So it's important to know these siddhis so that when they come, we are not distracted. Right? So hence Prabhupada makes this point that these Ashtasiddhis, one will achieve this, but one should not be distracted from this. Right? And then he again and again he stresses on this point that when we say progress towards the absolute truth, means the goal of Astanga Yogi is to actually come to Vishnu. Right? He says the target of all yoga is Vishnu. And hence Ashtanga Yoga is a part of Vaishnava practice because finally there's a realization of Vishnu. Now, if you do talk to anyone who is doing any of this asana, pranayam, they are so far away from this concept of Astanga Yogi being a devotional practice. Actually, they want to do yoga, but keep this devotional aspect away. But here, Prabhupada is making the point. The whole point of Astanga Yoga, target of all yogis is to realize Vishnu. Okay, so let's proceed. That's number 2.
Swadharmacharanam shaktya vidharmachcha nivartanam daivallabdhena santosha atmavicharanarchanam.
One should execute his prescribed duties to the best of his ability and avoid performing duties not allotted to him. One should be satisfied with as much gain as he achieves by the grace of the Lord, and one should worship the lotus feet of a spiritual master.
So, if you have Sumodini, you can follow along. But he gives a list of like 18 points, which are actually Yam and Niyam. What are the first 2 limbs of Astanga Yoga? Yam, Niyam, then Asana, then Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, right? So, we are going to go through all of these. So, now, this section of the Bhagavatam is, is the section of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam where Astanga Yoga has been explained in the most detail. Right? So Prabhupada, if you see these aspects of Astanga Yoga, and by now you already know the point that I'm going to say. What is the point? Prabhupada will take these aspects and say how it is applicable for a bhakti yogi. He'll give a devotional explanation to all these aspects. And that's Prabhupada's mode. Like, just focus on bhakti. Don't get deviated by anything else. So he'll actually say how these aspects are useful for a bhakti yoga. So what is the first aspect? Swadharma are dharma charanam, right? So what does that mean? Satya, right? So the first line basically, dharma acharanam satya. To the best of one's ability, one should execute one's prescribed duties. This is an aspect of niyama. Imagine that Astanga yogi, he has to do his prescribed duty to the best of his ability. Now, for a devotee, yes, a devotee also, he'll focus on his swadharma, like whatever is my dharma, according to, now it is not so clear in Kali Yuga, but according to whatever Brahmana, Kshatriya, whatever tendencies there, whatever his dharma is, he will do it to his best of his ability. But what is the mood of a devotee? Do your best, leave the rest to Krishna. So he's dependent on Krishna. But a niyama, a person who's doing this aspect of niyama in Asanga Yoga, he doesn't have that connection with Krishna. Right? So he'll do that. And Prabhupada also makes a point that, yes, we have our duties according to Varna and we faithfully follow it to the best of our ability. But then further, he actually makes the point that if one is fortunate enough to actually transcend these aspects of Varna, right? What is the verse? 14th chapter. No, 14th chapter, where it says that Bhakti Yogi can transcend all these duties and all these 3 modes of material nature.
Mamchayo vyabhicharena.
Amchayo Vyabhicharena Bhakti Yogina says, Sagunan Samatyajan. He can transcend. So Prabhupada makes a point. A devotee, like if he transcends these duties of the dharma according to varna and ashrama, then what he needs to do? Only his swadharma, the parodharma. And what is that parodharma? Savaipumsam parodharma yato bhakti adokshase. So a bhakti yogi can come to the stage where the swadharma becomes secondary and he's just focusing on this parodharma. So that's the point Prabhupada giving the spiritual aspect. But the first point in niyama is swadharma acharanam satya. That the person should do his prescribed duties to the best of his ability. Second line is what? Vidharma cha nivartanat. He should avoid doing unauthorized duties. Right? Bhagavad Gita makes a point. That is what? Karma, akarma, vikarma. So vikarma, we should certainly avoid. The karma, what we do, we want to connect to Krishna. Right? Then it becomes akarma. Right? So we should avoid unauthorized duties. Then third is daivat labhena santoshaha. Be satisfied with what is achieved by the grace of Lord. Is this applicable to us? Yes, certainly. right? Throughout Bhagavad Gita, we see Krishna uses the word tushtaha or santushtaha. That means what? That means whatever is coming, whatever Krishna has given us in terms of our job, in terms of our opulence, in terms of our property, in terms of our relationship, be satisfied. Krishna knows what is the best, and hence he's giving that. Be satisfied with that. I mean, this comes later in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna talks, what is the austerity of the mind? One of them is satisfaction, right? Austerity of the mind is satisfaction. Although the five aspects of the satisfaction of the austerity of mind, satisfaction. And this is actually practically for a bhakti yogi. This is actually an important point because we are staying in the world where no one wants to be satisfied. If they say that you're satisfied, they're like, you have to be more ambitious, get more, do more. Otherwise, you're not really like, being a part of the world. But that's not our concept. Everyone else is actually pulling us to live a more competitive society, a more society of consumerism. But Bhakti Yogi is satisfied. Whatever Krishna has given, Krishna, you know what is the best? Thank you, Krishna. And in this situation, how can I best serve you? That's the only focus of a Bhakti Yogi. Hmm? So, Daiva Labhena Santosha. He should be satisfied with what is achieved by the grace of the Lord. And the last one, certainly, all these, we can see how they can be aligned on the devotional side. But last one is what? Atmavit Charana Archana. One should actually worship the lotus feet of a spiritual master. I mean, imagine you see Astanga Yoga, and the fourth point of the first limb of Astanga Yoga is serve a spiritual master. And people may do all these Astanga Yogi, they may go through all these stages, and where is Guru? They don't have a Guru, they just take something here, something there. Oh, yeah, this breathing, that breathing, this asana, that asana, right? So, but the first in Niyama itself is one should actually serve, worship the spiritual master. Right? And Prabhupada makes the point that Atmavit means a self-realized soul or a bona fide spiritual master. Unless one is self-realized and knows what is the relationship with the Paramatma, one cannot be a bona fide guru. Right? So for a Astanga yogi, who is a guru? See, for us, then we have like a guru who, we say is a devotee, and then, Madhyamadikari, Uttamadikari gurus, we have all those, right? But for an Astanga yogi, a guru may be a person who has actually, through Astanga yogi, come to the realization of, in Samadhi, connecting with the Paramatma in the heart. Right? Hence, Prabhupada says, who is a guru for a Astanga yogi? That he has understood his relationship with Paramatma. Right? So he may not be necessarily bhakti yogi, but he's at least come to the point of understanding the Paramatma in the heart. So very close to bhakti yogi. That is a guru for a Astanga yogi. Okay, next verse. I mean, these verses are very they're very direct in the sense we don't need so much explanation. But yes.
So there is one line in the purport.
Yeah.
If one is born in a particular society or community, he should perform the prescribed duties for that particular division. If, however, one is fortunate enough to transcend the designation of birth in a particular society or community, is being elevated to a standard of spiritual identity.
Right.
So, like Prabhupada is talking about born, like birth system.
I mean, the point is Prabhupada is saying if one transcends that, see, we say, what is Chaturvarna Mayashanam? Guna, Karma, Vibhagasa. Right? But can we actually deny the influence of birth on a particular Varna, in a particular Varna? We cannot actually. I mean, the influence is there, but that does not necessarily mean that is your dharma. Like in the ninth canto of Bhagavatam, there are stories of, I forget which is a story, but there are stories where a person is born in a particular ashram, varna, and because of that, he has certain duties. So, influence of birth is actually very strong. But that does not necessarily mean and Prabhupada used to make the point, you're born in the family of a Brahmana. certainly Brahminical tendencies because will be there, the influence is there. Imagine you're growing up surrounded by people who are following the rules of Brahman. So influence is there, no doubt about it. But that does not mean that the person growing up, and if he does not follow, if his Chaturvana Mayashasam guna and karma, he's not developing, then he is not a Brahmana, right? But the influence we cannot deny. I mean, it's very natural, right? So Prabhupada is saying that influence that we get through our birth, we have to transcend that. Then if he comes to the point of parodharma, then he does not have to do those prescribed duties. I mean, the influence is certainly. I'm forgetting ninth canto, that is story. Maybe someone remembers? There's a story where it clearly makes a point about like how there's strong influence of being born in a particular family. And the ninth canto is filled with like so many stories that a little bit, I don't know how to say it, but it's a little strange, some of the stories, but yeah. And yeah, I'll find it out. I can post later. Okay, everyone okay so far? So 4 points of Niyama. Next, text 3.
Ramya dharma nivritischa moksha dharma ratistatha mita medyadanam shashvad vivikta kshema sevanam.
One should cease performing conventional religious practices and should be attached to those which lead to salvation. One should eat very frugally and should always remain secluded so that he can achieve the highest perfection of life.
Attracted to those, right? Attracted to those. Okay. So, Mata, I was just saying you read attached, but probably attracted to those who are.
Apologize.
Yeah. Okay. So first point is what? Gramya dharma nivritaha. You should give up Gramya dharma. What is Gramya dharma? Gramya dharma, we say what? Grama vyavahare kahe pandita. Sanatana Goswami says, Gramya katha we say. That means village talk. That is gossip. But here it is Gramya dharma, like village dharma, in the sense that's actually conventional religious practices. One should actually give it up. And Prabhupada explains this refers to the activities of dharma, artha, and kama. Prabhupada is again giving like the devotional aspect. For a devotee, how does Bhagavatam start? Dharma projita kaito atro parmo nirmasang. So we go up dharma, artha, kama, right? So Astanga Yogi, there's so many conventional practices. I mean, even for us, for bhakti yogis, we grow up and then we have so many family traditions. Oh, we should do this puja, that puja, do this, do that. But once we come to bhakti yogi, I mean, that's actually a thing that once they take up the aspect of bhakti yogi, it's difficult for them to give up some family traditions. But, that is the point. As we progress in bhakti, we come to the point that, what is the point? Shraddha Shabda Vishwasa Kore Sudre Nishay Krishna Bhakti Kale Sarva Karma Krita. I just need to do the aspects of bhakti. All these other family, traditions, they were there. And then one can see if it is favorable to bhakti, I'll keep it. But at some point we say, oh, no, I don't need this. This is not favorable to my devotion to Krishna, and you should be ready to give that away, right? So here it says Gramya Dharma Nivrita. Cease conventional religious practice. Then second point is what? Moksha Dharma Ratihi. Ratihi means attracted to practices that lead to moksha Dharma. Right? So dharma, artha, kama, we are giving up, and then we are focusing on the dharma that actually leads to moksha. Right? Then mita, medya, adana. Right? Maybe this is a point we shouldn't discuss too much on Dwadashi because today is breakfast. But it says, what is this point? Mita, medya, adana. Should eat little, and Prabhupada says little pure eating. Eat good, pure, and then eat little bit. And one should eat very frugally. Frugally. And Prabhupada and Parpati actually says that how Ayurveda makes this point that if you can eat your stomach full, and let's say that is 1 pound of food, if that's what you can eat, then what should you do? Eat half a pound. And then 1/4 of your stomach should be filled with what? Water. And 1/4 of your stomach should be filled with what? Gulab jamuns. No. 1/4 of your stomach should be filled with what? Air. Right? So 1/4 with air, 1/4 water, and then half of it with food. Why? Why is this point? Because the air actually gives the space for the food to get digested. This is a principle of Ayurveda. So Prabhupada explains this point in the purport. And if we eat more than that, if the balance is not there, that leads to all kinds of diseases. Like Ayurveda also makes a point that this imbalance in our, further we'll read Prabhupada talks more about Ayurvedic principles, but this imbalance of like our diet, imbalance eating too much or eating too little, all those cause so many diseases. So that balance. And even from, I know one devotee, he uses this example on the spiritual side, on the side of bhakti. What does it mean? Half food, 1/4 water, and 1/4 air. That means even in our spiritual life, we are engaging in different aspects of bhakti, but that 1/4 air actually represents a time of introspection. When we are doing so much in bhakti, there should be space where we are actually reflecting on, okay, what are we doing? Why we are doing? How is our bhakti going on? Right? We said discussing this point that Ekadashi are good day to actually reflect. Okay, last 15 days, how was my bhakti? Next 15 days, what do I want to improve? Ekadashis are days where we can reflect and then go deeper in our bhakti. Right? So point number 3, frugally eating. Right? Little pure eating. So eat pure and eat just half of the stomach. Right? Then last one is Shashwat Vikato Shema Sevanam. One should dwell in a peaceful, secluded place, and that way he can be free from fear. Right? If imagine he's doing Astanga Yogi, he's actually trying to focus his mind, but if he's in a place which is always filled with fear of, basic aspects of existence or any aspect of fear, then how will he actually focus his mind? Right? So hence this point is important. Shashwat Vivikta Shema Sevana should dwell in a peaceful, secluded place always. Right? Is this applicable to Bhakti Yogis? Actually, secluded place for Bhakti Yogis, peaceful we can accept, right? But we don't want to stay alone because staying alone means we in our mind, right? So for us, what is a safe place? In the association of devotees. We want to, as much as possible, be in the association of devotees. That is our safest place. Like how they say, if you're in the association of devotees, you're chanting the holy name, you're a part of the kirtan, that is the safest place for you. Safest in every way. Maya also, like, Kirtan, you're going on, you're so absorbed in Kirtan, then Maya has no room. Maya also can come. If you're a nice Kirtan singer, then all of a sudden Maya will come and say, yeah, I don't think anyone else sings as good as I am, right? And then you'll get pride, etc., etc. But, the safest of all places is in the Kirtan, in the association of devotees. So we don't want to, we are not in a stage where we live in a secular place, but that's for a Astanga Yoga. Okay, text 4.
Ahimsa Satyamassetyam Yavadartha Parigraha Brahmacharyam Tapashocham Swadhyaya Purusharchanam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One should practice non-violence and truthfulness, should avoid thieving, and be satisfied with possessing as much as he needs for his maintenance. He should abstain from sex life, perform austerity, be clean, study the Vedas, and worship the Supreme form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
So we are continuing on the aspects of Yama and Niyama. So here, what is the point? Ahimsa. Like in Bhagavad Gita also we see verses that talks of these qualities. Ahimsa, Satyam. Right? Ahimsa means non-violence. Satyam, truthfulness. Asteyam, refrain from theft. So theft. So Prabhupada actually explains this. What does this mean, refrain from theft? He says, one who actually accumulates more than one actually needs. Right? And which is this verse in the Ishopanishad? If one accumulates more, everyone has a particular quota. One should just accept what is
Ishavasya.
Ishavasam Idam Sarvam. So that is our point of devotion. Ishavasam. Krishna has given us a particular quota, that's all we'll accept. If you are taking more than that, then that is Asteyam. That is actually that's Teyam. That means that is actually thief, a theft. Right? So who accumulates more than one needs, or atyahara, prayasasha, prajalpo, niyamagraha, over endeavoring, over accumulating, those are all not favorable, neither for bhakti nor for Astanga Yoga. But Prabhupada makes this point. He said this is spiritual communism. Like Yes, there is an aspect of communism, communist society, where they want to establish like a leaderless society, everyone equal. But no, that will never work out. There's always these ups and downs. There's always the varnas. There are always the ashramas. But spiritual communism is whichever varna you're, whichever ashrama you're, you accept what is required for your maintenance. And if you do that, then all the society, all the varnas, all the ashramas, they will be satisfied. This is our principle of Bhagavatam, right? Spiritual communism. Accumulating wealth without spending for yajna or for service or worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a thief. Is a thief. Right? In Bhagavad Gita 3:13, what does it make the point? Was it starting of shloka 3:13? That one who actually eats without offering to Krishna is a thief. Right? Thief. So same asteyam is that point. So one should refrain from theft. And then further next aspect is yavat artha parigraha. Right? So this also is actually means possessing as much as necessary. So Prabhupada has combined that asteyam and yavat artha parigraha. Take as much as required for your maintenance. Brahmacharyam, austerity. Right? So it's celibacy. So Prabhupada also elaborates on this point that one cannot progress in yoga and at the same time enjoy unrestricted sex life. You know. And Prabhupada, often in lectures he used to comment on this point that there is, I think that book was released during Prabhupada's time, and hence Prabhupada refers that there's a book that talks of yoga for better sex. And Prabhupada makes a point, this is opposite. Yoga means one should actually control oneself. Yoga for better sex, what is that? So Prabhupada used to comment on that. But he makes the point here. One cannot enjoy unrestricted sex life and practice yoga. Brahmacharyam. One leads his life simply in relationship with Brahman. That is Brahma Acharya, right? Acharya. He's in that ashram where he's just focused on Brahman. And Prabhupada makes the point that, even he's mentioned to this as Grahas Brahmacharis. Who are Grahas Brahmachari? That even within marriage life, sex life is only for producing children, and that's it. He's still a brahmachari. So that's that aspect there. Then Saucham, cleanliness, right? Swadhyaya, study of the Vedas. And then Purusha Archana. So Prabhupada comments on Swadhyaya, right? Even we talk of Swadhyaya, right? So Prabhupada says Swadhyaya means to study our scriptures. Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, reading authorized scriptures. And Prabhupada says all our activities should be based on these three principles. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Right? Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. Practicing yoga without swadhyaya, without understanding the Shastra, is simply waste of time. Prabhupada makes this point. Simply waste of time. Like, what are you doing? We're just speculating and doing things. What is the result of that? So follow the Shastra. If we're not following the Shastra, what is the use? Right? And the last point is Purusha Archana. See the amazing thing. Even in Astanga Yogi, in the principle of Yam and Niyam, accepting a bona fide spiritual master. Second, worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? And Prabhupada actually, in this section, he quotes from Bhagavad Gita 10.12, where it says, Arjuna Vacha, Param Brahma, Param Dhamam, Pavitram Param Bhavan. That who is the Purusham? Purusham Shashwatam Divyam. Right? That the original Purusham is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Prabhupada is saying, one must worship the form of the deity of Krishna daily. Daily one should actually worship. And Prabhupada, he encouraged this actually. He says, he makes a point, especially for neophytes, when we come to Krishna consciousness, and he insisted that, we cannot take up Radha Krishna worship because that's only when you're Brahman initiated. But Gaur Nitai, he said everyone. As soon as you come to Krishna consciousness, have Gaur Nitai deities worship. And there was actually a part, there's a story also that comes where Prabhupada said, okay, everyone takes this, the Gaur Nitai dolls and go and distribute door to door. Imagine that, where Prabhupada is so merciful. Every house have Gaur Nitai, you worship. Even that is like offering a flower to Gaur Nitai, But that is immediately what happens. We are all covered with the concept of impersonalism. It is like so rampant all around. But as soon as there is a form and we start worshipping the personal aspect of the Lord, gradually comes to an no, God is a person, God is a person. He's not some energy, but beyond the energy, he's a person, he's a person. And Prabhupada said, for neophyte, it is essential to start off with deity worship. To worship a deity, because when the personal concept comes, then when we are chanting also, we'll be like, okay, Hare Krishna, we are calling a person Krishna, and that's how we progress in our bhakti. So the aspect of worshipping, Prabhupada said one must worship the form of deity of Krishna daily. So practically also in our spiritual life, we should have some form of worship every day. Every day there should be, right? Rupa Goswami says 5 most powerful aspects of worship, and one of them is Sri Vigra Seva. Right? You have to worship a deity. So this important aspect of bhakti. Okay. 5th.
Text 6. Right.
5, right?
Oh, text 5.
5, 5.
Monam sad asana jaya, staryam prana jaya shanai, pratyaharas chendriyanam, vishayan manasaribi.
Hare Krishna. One should observe silence, acquire steadiness by practicing different yogic postures, control the breathing of the vital air, withdraw the senses from sense objects, and thus concentrate the mind on the heart.
So now up to this point, and in this verse, monam silence, that is up to this is yam niyam, right? Including monam is yam niyam. Now silence for a devotee, what does silence mean? To talk only about Krishna. That's simple, right? For the Astanga yogi, maybe that actually means to observe that mode of silence. Right? Now, after that, if you see the Sanskrit, after monam, what is it? Sat asana, right? So yam niyam, then what is the next? Asana, right? So he's talking of the next. So asanam, and then jayate stairyam. Stairyam means steadiness. So Prabhupada makes this point. What is the purpose of all these asanas? To actually attain steadiness. Right? They are, Prabhupada says, the yogi practice in Hatha Yoga in particular are not ends in themselves. They are means to the end of attaining steadiness. One must be able to sit properly, then the mind and attention will become steady enough for practicing yoga. Is this true for our bhakti yogis also? Yes, actually, like, the sitting, even while we are chanting japa, let's say, like, you sit and if you have a good posture, like many times we talk of 3P principle, right? Posture, prayer, and pronunciation, right? Pronunciation, 3P principle. Posture is important. Like if you have the right posture, then when you're chanting, you can be focused. The mind becomes steady, right? So it's important for bhakti yogis also. Like sometimes devotees do that. They'll have like a leaning chair. They'll go like this and Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. So how will you focus if you're like so laid back? So it's good to have a straight posture even while chanting. Even your life airs actually become more focused. So Sat Asana, right? So what is the purpose of asana? To actually get steadiness in our mind and attention. Okay. Next is what? Sat Asana. Then he said Prana Jaya Pranayam. So yam niyam asan, and after asan comes pranayam. So pranayam is mentioned here. Pranayam means controlling the breathing of the vital air, and shanaihi, particularly the word shanaihi is actually used, means gradually we actually control the breathing of vital air. So Prabhupada says gradually one must control the circulation of vital air, and with such control he will be able to go to the next aspect, which is pratyahar. So this verse is already talking of asan, pranayam, pratyahar. But pratyahar means what? Withdraw the senses from the sense object. Indriyanam vishayat. And manase hridi. You concentrate the mind on the heart. Right? So this is all in pratyahar. Even a pratyahar, there's withdrawal. Yes, sense objects are there. We are attracted to the sense objects. But in pratyahar, we start withdrawing. Yes, it is there, but I'm not going to get disturbed. And that will come when asanas gives us steadiness of the mind, and then pranayam, you control the breathing of the vital, the life air. Okay. Everyone okay so far? Okay, now text 6. So we have come yam, niyam, asan, pranayam, pratyahar. 5 of the 8 we have done. Okay. 6.
Swadhishnyanam ekadeshe manasa pranadharanam Vaikuntha Leela Bhidyanam Samadhanam Tathatmanaha.
Fixing the vital air and the mind in one of the six circles and vital air circulation within the body, thus concentrating one's mind on the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is called Samadhi or Samadhan of the mind.
Hmm. And it's so interesting because he's giving a devotional aspect to Astanga Yogi. At this point, there's Vaikuntha Leela. Imagine, he's already come to the point of, and he says Samadhi. So we are actually already come to Samadhi here. But the Samadhi aspect is to focus on the Vaikuntha Leela, the pastimes of Lord Krishna. So hence Kapila Muni is giving that devotional yogi, right? Devotional Astanga yogi. But before that, we also read Swadhishnyanam. That means what? Within the a vital air. So Prabhupada actually explains what does this mean, and he talks of the chakras in the body, right? And Prabhupada says six, and Vishwanath Thakur says seven. So sometimes it's either considered six or seven. If you consider seven, it starts with Muladhara chakra, right? Then it comes to Swadhisthana, then Manipura. So it's like Swadhisthana is belly, Manipura at the heart, then Anahata at the lung, then Vishuddha at the palate, Agya at the eyebrows, Sahasrara, that is at the brain. So these chakras are there, and the Astanga Yogi, by the previous asanas and pranayam, what does he know? Now he knows where these chakras are, and he'll focus the life air on these chakras, gradually on the lowest one, and step by step bringing it to the higher chakras. I mean, now, I mean, even currently, if you search what they call Vinyas Yoga, right? You find people actually teaching that, and they talk about these chakras and say how we should actually, bring the life air to these chakras. But actually, in Kali Yuga, I mean, I have heard this, that people say that if they are not teaching properly, a person can go mad. Person can go mad because he's trying to bring his life airs on these chakras, and if he's not doing it properly, they can go crazy. So all this is not meant for Kali Yuga. But there are so many groups that will be teaching chakras and vinyasa and say, okay, life air focus here. It's not possible. But in Astanga Yogi, this is a process. The prana, the vital air, should be focused on eka deshe, one dash, and then go higher by the mind. And then dhyana, here Prabhupada says, meditating on the limbs of the Lord and Vaikuntha Lila, and samadhi, to be completely absorbed in the Lord. Right. So in 6 verses, we have started with Astanga Yogi and come to the perfection of samadhi, where Vaikuntha Lila is focusing on Vaikuntha Lila. Now Prabhupada makes this point that, okay, we went through all the asana, pranayam, pratyahar, etc. But what is for a bhakti yogi? As soon as he comes to devotional service, what is the first thing he does? Shravanam. And when he does Shravanam, one way he's forced to, if he's really, wants to hear, then his mind is already forced to hear. What are they saying? Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, all that. So mind, what is achieved in Samadhi, in Astanga Yogi, is actually obtained through Shravana in Bhakti Yogi. Right? Because Vaikuntha Lila is actually the highest, the perfection of Samadhi. But for us, we start off with hearing Shravanam, we talk of Krishna, we talk of Krishna's pastimes, etc. Text 7.
Prabhu, if you remember when we used to have that one tribe fest
Yes.
in Raleigh, there was one lady, she when we went out at the end of the fest to give out Bhagavad Gitas to the vendors, one of the ladies, she said, you all his chakras are enlightened about you. And Ratradhika, actually, we both went, and that woman, another woman was saying, you stand, your aura, we will take a picture and we will see your aura's color. Orange color, red color, green color. And one woman, he has all his chakras enlightened.
I mean, Like, I don't even know what is a chakra. Like, for this verse, I had to look up the names of this chakra, the positions, just to make notes. But for Bhakti Yogi, we don't care about all this. Whatever, like for us, just Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam, do practical devotion, serve the mission of Prabhupada. That's it. All these things, Krishna takes care of. You don't have to. So that's why in this verses, Prabhupada actually compares. He says, what is achieved here? So Astanga Yogi, easily through Bhakti Yogi, we can attain by coming in contact with the pure devotee of Krishna. By devotee of Krishna. Okay. Text 7.
एतर अन्यैश्च पथिभिर्मनोदुष्टं सत् असत्पथं बुद्ध्याया युञ्जित शनकैर्जितप्राणो यतेन्द्रितः.
Hare Krishna. By these processes or any other true process, one must control the contaminated, unbridled mind, which is always attracted by material enjoyment, and thus fix himself in the thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So if you say 8, so basically up to 6, he's already come to the point of Samadhi. Samadhi means focusing the mind on Vaikuntha Lila. Hence in 7 he said, Ete anya cha patibhi. So by this process which I have explained, or anya, any other processes, what is the goal? The other processes could be, like Vishwan Chakri Thakur says, could be charity or doing vows. So along with Astanga Yogi, one may do charity, do vows. By this or the other processes, Manaha dushtam asatpatham. The mind that is asat, which is contaminated on the path of material enjoyment, that buddhya, by intelligence, one should actually shanakahi, gradually fix the life air. The mind should be fixed. The life air is fixed and alert. And Prabhupada actually elaborates and say, because in the last verse we talked of Vaikuntha Lila, finally it should be focused on the thought of the Supreme Personality of God. So Prabhupada is like Kapila Dev is already giving Astanga Yogi with a bhakti aspect. Prabhupada is taking it to all the way to devotional aspect, like the meditation on the Supreme Personality of God. Right? So in purport, Prabhupada says the essential point is the mind, which is contaminated by material attraction, has to be bridled, controlled, and concentrated on the Supreme Personality of God. And also in these verses, Prabhupada again and again, he actually brings up the point of impersonalism. See, Astanga Yogi is saying what? Focus on Vaikuntha Leela. Focus on the limbs of the Lord. And that's the next section. Where is the question of impersonalism? Right? Where do we say focus on the energy of the Lord? Directly, even Astanga Yogi, it is talking on the form of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord. And that is the state described as Samadhi. So, where is the question of impersonalism? And if there was a concept that, okay, now you can use the form to meditate and later on you actually focus on the impersonal, then Kapila Muni would have not explained Samadhi as an aspect of focusing on Vaikuntha Lila. Right? So Prabhupada he defeats impersonalism through these verses. Text 8.
Uchodeshe pratishtapya vijitasana asanam tasmin swasti samasina rijukaya samabhya set.
After controlling one's mind and sitting postures, one should spread a seat in a secluded and sanctified place. Sit there in an easy posture, keeping the body erect, and practice breath control. Hare Krishna.
So basically here, he's already explained the whole, he's come up to Samadhi. Now he's going back and saying like, even for asana, right? One needs to, even for, practicing a different asana, one needs certain requirements for asana. And what is that? One should practice breath control. Suche in a sanctified place. So we already read about this point, right? In a secluded place, a yogi should be. So in a nice sanctified state. Vijita asana. You should control the sitting posture. Swasti samasina. Sitting in swastika asana. What is swastika asana? Anyone has heard this? Anyone familiar with yoga? Swastika asana. Like Vishwan Chakri Thakur makes a point, it's almost like, how you're sitting cross legs with the ankle on the thighs. How we sit, like lotus position. So that he's calling swastika asana. And then Rujukaya, the body should be erect. So Prabhupada also said, placing foot of one leg on the thigh of another. That is the thing. And then asana should consist of deer skin and kusha grass. So where will you get deer skin from? I mean, it's interesting. I just thought like, so I always feel like, oh, you need anything, go to Amazon.com. They have everything there. Maybe they have deer skin also. But this is a Kapil Dev is saying this is a requirement for asana. One should go to a secluded place, like he's especially saying sucho deshe, and then one should get deer skin, kusha grass, sit on it, right? Even in 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, don't we read similar points, right? Krishna says same thing. Get kusha grass, get a deer skin, sit erect. I should be not fully open, not fully closed. Fully closed, you fall asleep. Fully open, you'll get distracted. You should focus on the tip of the nose. Similar, same points. Okay, text 9 and 10.
Pranasya shodhayen margam pura kumbha kadrichakai pratikulena vachitam yathastiram achanchalam.
Hare Krishna, 328.9. The yogi should clear the passage of vital air by breathing in the following manner. First, he should inhale very deeply, then hold the breath in, and finally exhale. Or, reversing the process, the yogi can first exhale, then hold the breath outside, and finally inhale. This is done so that the mind may become steady and free from external disturbances. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so now he's teaching the aspect of pranayama, right? So pranasya shuddhe, you should clean the prana, right? The prana. Puraka, kumbhaka, rechaka. Like those who do pranayama, this is actually very common terms used. Everyone knows this? Kumbhaka, rechaka, puraka, kumbhaka, rechaka. So puraka is inhaling. Okay, everyone take a deep breath. Right? And then kumbhaka, you hold it. And then when you release, that is rechaka, exhaling. Right? So that is one explanation. Now, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur, he gives, everyone knows, what's that called? Kapal Bharti. And that's a kind of breathing, where you actually breathe in through a left nostril, you hold it, release through a right, and then you go other way. So he says like inhaling through a left nostril is called Puraka, holding is called Kumbhaka, and then Rechake is releasing from the right. So that is one system where you inhale, you hold, and you release. Right? Normally, I say like, when we talk about like pranayama, normally we say the formula is 4-8-8. I mean, this is some mundane. But anyway, like you breathe in for 4, count of 4, you hold for 8, and you release for count of 8. So, but he says, okay, inhale, hold, exhale, but also pratikulena. Pratikulena means opposite. You first exhale, and then you hold, and then you inhale. What is that called? Anyone knows? It's okay. I'm forgetting the name of that asana. But everyone is familiar. They do that with the stomach. And then they move your stomach inside. I'm forgetting the name of that asana. Someone knows. But so it could be the reverse also. So both of them are mentioned here. And then what is the purpose of this? That's the main point. Chittam yatha. So the mind should actually become stiram. So that the chitta becomes stiram, steady, and chanchalam. Bhagavad Gita, what does Arjun say? Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. Here he's saying, by this what happens? Chanchalam. It becomes steady and becomes free from disturbances. And Prabhupada also goes a little bit into technical detail here. He says in the purport, he makes the point about how there is this, the nerves through which inhalation and exhalation are conducted are technically called Ida and Pingala. The ultimate purpose of clearing the Ida and Pingala passages is to divert the mind from material enjoyment. Right? So that's the point, that we are doing all this. Why? So our mind can be deviated from material enjoyment. So is this useful for a bhakti yogi? Yes? No?
Absolutely, Prabhuji. I was even thinking that how Krishna is so merciful that he came as Kapil Dev, and he is explaining us like a father, like minute details. How can we control our mind? All these things that he's explaining are so useful for even Bhakti Yogi. That the sitting posture, we control our mind, and then we will be able to concentrate our mind on Krishna,
Mm.
on Vaikuntha
So
Leela.
certainly, yes. So certainly we can use all these, but we are not dependent on all these. It's not that we are like, okay, by this, my mind will be controlled. No, no. Our faith is by focusing on Krishna, our mind will be controlled. But certainly even a bhakti yogi could use these practice just to steady the mind. Like Prabhupada in the purport makes a point. For those whose minds are too disturbed, are very much absorbed in bodily existence, then these aspects are very useful. Is that our situation? Mind too absorbed in bodily existence? Yeah, it is true. But our process is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. That's our main process. So we are not saying that, yes, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu is dependent on all these aspects. We are not saying that. If a person feels that this can be helpful for him to focus in Harikatha, he may do some pranayama. He may do these things, but one is not dependent. It's not like a integral aspect for a bhakti yogi, but it could be useful, right? So we are not saying that. But then further, Prabhupada makes the point. He says, yes, we want to clear all these Ida, the Pingala passages, divert the mind from material enjoyment. But the same thing, where we talk of diverting the mind by material enjoyment, how does a bhakti yogi achieve this? And he says, Param Drishta Nivartate. We actually achieve this by focusing our mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. Savai Manaha Krishna Padaravinda. So Prabhupada gives the example of Ambarish Maharaj, how he fixed his mind 24 hours a day on the lotus feet of Krishna by engaging all his senses in the service of the Lord. Right? So Prabhupada is saying the same purpose which is achieved by Astanga Yogi is achieved by a Bhakti Yogi by yes, by focusing on the pastimes of the Lord. And Prabhupada says, so the process of Krishna consciousness is to chant Hare Krishna and to hear the sound attentively so that the mind is fixed upon the transcendental vibration of Krishna's name, which is non-different from the personality of Krishna. Right? So what is this? So Prabhupada, how often does he say? Chant Hare Krishna and hear attentively. Right? What does this mean? So when you're saying Hare Krishna, we are trying to focus our mind on the sound of the Mahamantra. I mean, this is also a very practical aspect of our japa. When we are doing this, are we trying to hear attentively? Prabhupada says to hear the sound attentively so that the mind is fixed on the sound. I'm sure everyone has this experience that when you're really focused in japa, you really go Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So if you're like really focused, then the mind, your consciousness is fixed on hearing so attentively that the mind, a thought may come in your mind because nature of the mind is chanchala. Thought will come, but you can catch your thought and say like, okay, not now. I'm busy now. I'm busy hearing the holy name. You can actually come. And that kind of japa is good japa, where you are like, so attentive where thoughts come and you are like able to catch it and say, okay, not now, not now, not now. I just want to hear now. I'm busy now. Don't disturb. Like how Mahatma Prabhu makes the point. In our mind, we actually, inside and outside, we have to put a do not disturb sign. How you go to motel rooms and you have do not disturb. Outside and inside you have to put. Outside in a sense, even he has t-shirts where he says like, Mahatma Prabhu he has actually designed some t-shirts where it says like, I am busy now chanting, do not disturb me. That means like, then we are chanting, no, not that someone comes and talks and like, okay, no one, please don't disturb, I'm busy now. And internally in our mind, we are putting do not disturb sign. That means what? The mind is so busy hearing the holy name that a thought comes and you're like, no, do not disturb. I'm busy now. I'm busy now. So that is good japa. And we all, it's a practice, but we all should come to that stage where we can actually catch our thoughts and do not disturb. That's good job. So Prabhupada is making the point how the mind should be fixed on the sound vibration of the holy name of Krishna. Right. So the mind, he says, the mind is an enemy when it thinks of material enjoyment, and mind is a friend when it can concentrate on the lotus feet of Krishna. Right. And then further he says, this process of Astanga Yoga, to attain perfection through this process, very difficult. To do all these asanas and fix our mind through these asanas is very difficult in the state. Therefore, what should we do? Kirtaniya Sadahari. Right, so Prabhupada concludes and says, chant Hare Krishna, focus your mind on the holy name, and that's it. That's our perfection. Okay. Text number 10.
Manochiratsya virajam jita shvasasya yoginaha vayu agni bhyam yatha loham dhmatam tyajati vaimalam. The yogis who practice such breathing exercises are very soon freed from all mental disturbances, just as gold, when put into fire and fanned with air, becomes free from all impurities.
So, manaha achirat syat virajam. So, if you actually do all the processes from text 2 till text 9, what will happen? The mind will soon become free from achirat. Achirat means very quickly become free from viraja. Viraja, disturbances. Right? So, mind becomes free from disturbances. And for the yogi, jita swasya, whose breathing is controlled, then, okay, so basically the point is, for the yogi whose breathing is controlled, very soon the mind becomes free from disturbances. So that's the point. And what is the example? Yatha, whenever we see the word yatha, means that is an example. And yatha, loham, what is the Sanskrit? Vayu Agnibihi. So by air and fire, loham, the gold, bhatam, fan. Right? So basically he's making the point. If you want to purify gold, what do? You put it in fire and you fan it. When you put it in fire and you fan it, then what happens? The impurities get melted and then you get pure gold. So similarly, by this breathing process, the impurities are getting washed away and the mind becomes free, right? It becomes pure. Right? And Prabhupada in the purport, he said the process of purifying has been recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Right? It's the same thing. You want to purify the mind, steady the mind. But what is our process? Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvana. We actually Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtana. So same thing that's achieved there, here we're achieving by chanting Hare Krishna. Text 11.
Pranayama dahe doshan dharanabhishcha kilbishan pratyaharena samsargan dhyanenanishwaran gunan.
Hare Krishna. By practicing the process of pranayama, one can eradicate the contamination of his physiological condition, and by concentrating the mind, one can become free from all sinful activities. By restraining the senses, one can free himself from material association, and by meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can become free from the three modes of material attachment.
Okay, so what is the result of pranayam? What is the result of dharana? What is the result of pratyahar? And what is the result of dhyan? So that is explained in this verse, right? So what is the first one? Pranayam. What is the result of pranayam? Dahet doshan. One can actually eradicate the contaminations of the body. When you actually do pranayam, what is happening? Like, if you go to an Ayurvedic doctor, normally what is the thing they'll say? Oh, your pitta is too high. Right? Because their whole Ayurveda is explained in terms of Kapha, Pitta, and Vayu. So Prabhupada actually explains Ayurvedic medical science. These three items, they maintain the physiological condition of the body. So whole Ayurveda is based on this, right? Kapha, Pitta, and Vayu. And you go to an Ayurvedic doctor, he'll say, oh, your this and this is imbalanced. Therefore, you do pranayam because pranayam will balance your doshas in the body. It's very practical actually. I mean, even for devotees, it's nice to know the basics of Ayurveda, just to keep a good health. And if you know that, oh, your pitta is imbalanced or this is imbalanced, then you can align your diet also in line with this. Some things, if your pitta is too high, then things that can actually increase fire in your body, and you can reduce those things. Right? So, it is my I feel like, even our devotees, we should actually at least know the basics of Ayurveda and know what our bodily constitution is. And then once you know, then you can align your food, your habits based on that. This is it's a very practical science, and this Veda is directly coming from the Vedas. So pranayam, what does pranayam do? It actually balances this imbalance of kapha pitta vayu. Then what does dharana do? Dharana, it says kilbishan. One becomes free from sinful activities. When we actually do dharana, we become free from sinful activities. Pratyahar, by pratyahar, that means withdrawing the senses. Some sargam, we become free of material association. And then dhyanena, by meditating, you get what? Anishwaran gunan. We become free from the influence of three modes of material nature, like the qualities of attraction, hatred, etc. All those will become free. Okay. So 4 things. Everyone understand? First, pranayam. What is the result of pranayam?
Balances the doshas.
It purifies the doshas. The result of dharana. It says dharana bhi kilbisha. Sinful activities. Pratyahar samsargam. Right? What is that?
Free from association with sense objects.
Material association. And then dhyanena is, you see the Sanskrit, anishwaran guna. We become free from the influence of 3 modes of material nature. So Prabhupada makes an interesting point in the purport. He says that every aspect of the Astanga Yoga, there is a parallel activity in Bhakti, right? So if you see here, giving up sinful activities. Even in Bhakti, we have this aspect of anartha nivritti, where we are giving up these sinful activities. So there is a parallel on both, but Prabhupada makes the point. But Bhakti Yoga is easier. It is a more feasible process. It begins with chanting and hearing. Text number 12.
Yadamana swam virajam yogena susamahitam kashtham bhagavato dhyayat svanasagravalokanah.
Hare Krishna. When the mind is perfectly purified by this practice of yoga, one should concentrate on the tip of the nose with half-closed eyes and see the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
So yada manaha swam virajam. When the mind is perfectly purified, yogena, by this practice of yoga, then dhyayeta swanasa agra. One should meditate on the tip of the nose. Okay, everyone please meditate on the tip of your nose and keep your eyes half closed. And then kashtam bhagavataha. Kashtam means the attractive form of the Lord, right? Bhagavataha means what? The expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that Kashtam Prabhupada explains as plenary expansion, Vishwanath Chakri Thakur says an attractive form, either way. So what does this mean? That even for a Astanga yogi, at a particular point, he should meditate on the form of the Lord. One should meditate on the tip of the nose, and then he should meditate on the form of the Lord. Right? And Vishwanath, so the next few verses, from 13 all the way to text number 32. 13 to 32 is all meditation on the form of the Lord. And so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is making the point. He says, taking this opportunity, Kapil Dev describes a Lord form which is used by both devotees and yogis for meditation. So is this for Bhakti Yogi? Yes. On Bhakti Yogi also we meditate on the form of the Lord because it is what? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Smaranam. So third limb of Bhakti Yogi is actually the 7th limb of Astanga Yogi, where we do the Smaranam, the form of the Lord. So next entire section is actually one way a very devotional section, where a section for meditation, where we are reading these verses, and every verse can be a verse for our personal meditation on the form of the Lord. So Prabhupada in the purport here, he explains that Kashtam, the plenary expansion, and he says basically this refers to the Paramatma in the heart. So Krishna explains Balaram, from Balaram first Chaturviha, from that Adi Shankarshan you have Narayan, from Narayan second Chaturviha, from that Sankarshan you have Kanadakshay Vishnu, then Garbhodakshay Vishnu, then Shirodakshay Vishnu. It is this Shirodakshay Vishnu who is in our heart as Paramatma. Right? And it is this form of Paramatma that has been described from text 13 to text 32, and each limb of this form is described. And so yogi should actually read these verses and meditate. And similarly, a bhakti yogi can meditate on the form of the Lord in a devotional way through these verses. Okay. Everyone okay so far? Everyone has any comments, questions, realizations?
As I said, Prabhuji, before, I was just thinking that how Kapil Dev is taking us to Vaikuntha Leela, even in Ashtanga Yoga.
Yeah, Ashtanga Yoga, he's bringing to a point of Vaikuntha Leela. Very nice.
So we need to grow our parent. Can you give us like 10 minutes?
Yeah, I was actually thinking we'll take a break now. Then we'll come back and then we can we'll do this. It's almost like a meditation session now, where you are actually reading the verses and more of just meditating on the lotus feet, the signs on the lotus feet of Krishna. Right? What is the signs on the left feet? What are the signs on the right? It's very, very like, these verses you can actually, as a matter of our practice, we can actually like, sometimes say, okay, chanting my rounds. Now let me take some time for just personal meditation and read these verses of Bhagavatam and meditate on the form of the Lord. And at the particular stage in Bhakti, you can do this. A very sweet section that way. Okay, so we'll start at 8:30 now and break our fast and then we'll come back. Okay, thank you so much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
idam nichami nishamyatavachota tarabhikripa bhutave idam nichami nishamyatavachota tarabhikripa idam nichami nishamyatavachota Tadapi kripa bhutave Vedami chamini samyatavachyuta Krishna Deva Bhavantam Krishna Deva Bhavantam Tirudanchati Yadapi Madhava Natve Mamadiramadre Tirudanchati Tirudanchati Yadapi Madhava Natve Mamadiramadre Tirudanchati Tadapitavadhika Durghata Ghatana Vedhati Tadapitavadhika Vishnadeva Bhavantam Vishnadeva Bhavantam Yamavilo Palitadhutarasabharam Ayamavilo Ayamavilo Palitadhutarasabharam Ayamavilo Nivasatu nityanidhamritanandini Bindana madhuri masaram Nivasatu nityanidhamritanandini Everybody nivasatu nityanidhamritanandini Bindana madhuri masaram Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande Krishna Deva Bhavantam. कृष्णदेव भगवन्तं वन्दे देवभवन्तं वन्दे देवभवन्तं देवभवन्तं वन्दे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Let's continue. Let's come back. Okay, next. So, everyone ready for verses on meditation? So, now you have to open your meditative side and really focus on these verses. So, let's start with text number 13. You're on mute, Ratan.
Sorry. Prasanna bhojam padmagarbharunekshanam nilotpaladala shanka chakra gadadharam.
Hare Krishna translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has a cheerful lotus-like countenance with ruddy eyes like the interior of a lotus and the swarthy body like the petals of a lotus, blue lotus. He bears a conch, discus, and mace in three of his hands. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, sorry for the AI generated image, but you can see this blue lotus here. So, what is the first point that is said? Prasanna Vadanam Bhojam. So, how is the countenance? It's like almost cheerful, like a lotus like countenance of the Lord. Then, second one, he says Padma Garbharunekshanam. His interior, ruddy eyes like the interior of his lotus. Right? So, interior of a lotus, his eyes are just like that. Then Nilotapala. Nila means the blue. Utpala means the lotus. So like here you can see on the screen. Nila Utpala, blue lotus, petals, Dala. So his body is like the color of the petals of a blue lotus, right? And then Shankha Chakra Gada Dharam. He actually bears a conch, a disc, a mace, and lotus in hands. Right? So again, as I said, this is not just a description like verses just to read through in Bhagavatam. This is to actually meditate. Okay, what are we meditating now? What is the color of the Lord? The color of the Lord is like the petals of a blue lotus. And then his eyes are also like lotus, but the interior of his eyes are slightly like reddish, like the interior of a lotus, right? And then he's cheerful, he's prasanna, right? Right, and lotus-like countenance. And what is he holding in his hand? Conch, disc, mace, and lotus. He's holding the four aspects of Vishnu. So four symbols of Vishnu. So Prabhupada in the purport, he actually says that there are 12 different forms of Vishnu that have been explained in the book Teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's description to Sanatan Goswami, right, he actually explains about all the 12 forms of Vishnu. Right? Everyone knows this, right? When we do Tilak Om Keshwaya Namo, Om Narayana, Om Madhavaya Namo, Govindaya Namo, Vaishnavaya Namo, right? So when you are saying this, each is a form of Vishnu, and the difference is said in the order in which these four symbols are held, right? So one of the Vishnu will have the club in the right hand, and then Vishnu may have club in the left hand, right? So all these four, they rotate, so they're different forms. And if you want Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is in Teachings of Lord Chaitanya. I think it's chapter 20 of the Madhya Leela. And in that, if you see, text number is 224. So from 224 text number in the Madhya, chapter 20, you see the description where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Vasudeva form is what? Okay, if you want, I can share my screen quickly. Right, so this is from CC Madhya. You see, the form of Vasudeva is lower right hand club, upper right hand conch, upper left hand this, lower left hand lotus. Then next one, Sankarshan, you have club, conch, lotus. The order is changed. In that way, you have all these different forms of Vishnu. Govinda, Madhusudana, Madhava, Trivikrama, Vamana, Sridhara, Rishikesha, Padmanabha, etc. etc. So it's all explained in that. And also further, it talks more about the expansion. So Prabhupada mentions about that also. It is basically from Krishna coming down all the way, and Paramatma is here. If you see this, Shirodakshay Vishnu, super soul of individual souls, right? That is right here, Paramatma. So Prabhupada, he's making this point to actually say that how this is a personal form of the Lord. There's no question of impersonality here. You are focusing on a person. He has a way he looks, his eyes, the inside of his eye, of the inside of the eye, the color is so and so, his skin is so and so color. Where is impersonalism here? So Prabhupada defeats that. And then he actually quotes Bhagavad Gita 12.5, which is a shloka. Anyone knows? Kleshodhikarastesham avyaktastasam. So how 12 chapter starts with Arjun asking, which is better, personal or impersonal meditation? And then Krishna says, actually, impersonal meditation is klesha. It is very troublesome. It's a very difficult process. And because we are conditioned, it's very difficult for us to focus on something which is impersonal, right? In that way, he has rejected that process. One way he's saying, it is there in the Shastra, but it's not recommended. That's what Krishna says. So Prabhupada explains that whole point. Now, someone may ask here, it says Nilotpalat Dala. The color of the Krishna is like a blue lotus. Now, why is Krishna blue? If someone asks you, why is Krishna blue? What is the answer? Why is Krishna blue?
Because the rain cloud is always ready to come out. So he's always merciful to give to us.
I mean, our point is like because we don't have a good comparison to understand the color of Krishna, we actually say, oh, we can compare it to a blue lotus or we can compare it to a blue rain cloud. But why is Krishna's color blue? Yeah. So Prabhupada actually makes a point that, it is just like asking someone that, I mean, it is just a personal feature of the Lord. It is not something that is imaginative. If Krishna's color was like how Lord Ramchandra, color is greenish. So someone may question why greenish? That's the color of the Lord. It's not that I imagine like a blue color or a green color. There is no question of imagination here. That is how the Lord looks. This is what has been explained in our different scriptures. In Brahma Samhita, Prabhupada actually says the color of Krishna's body is compared to bluish cloud. This is not imagination. This is how Krishna looks. So finally, when one day face to face we see Krishna, this is the color of Krishna's skin. There is no question of why. This is how Krishna is. That's the point. So Prabhupada explains that. Okay, next sloka.
Prabhu, Gurudev, Krishna Maharaj mentions that Krishna's color is blue because he looks at Radharani, and Radharani's eyes are bluish.
Yeah. I mean, that is a rasa explanation, which, common man will not understand. But, Prabhupada in the purport, he's going to explain this deeper aspects of rasa. But yes, at a deeper level, we can explain in terms of Srimati Radharani. But, this is like the main point Prabhupada is stressing. That's how he looks, Someone may ask like, oh, why do you look like that? That's how I am. Where is the question of why this, right? So similarly, Krishna is a person, and that's how he looks.
And it could be other way around, right? Radharani's eyes are blue because she is looking at Krishna.
That's nice. Yeah. Okay, let's continue. 40.
Lasat pankaja kinjalka pita kosheya vasasam Shrivatsa vakshasam brajat Kostubhamuktakandharam.
His loins are covered by a shining cloth, yellowish like the filaments of a lotus. On his breast he wears the mark of Shrivasta, a curl of white hair. The brilliant Kastuba gem is suspended from his neck. Hare Krishna.
So here it is said like, okay, so previous verse, we have meditated on the color of Krishna. What else did we meditate on? Anyone?
His eyes are like
The inside of his eyes are like
reddish, like the inside of a lotus.
head of a lotus. So color of the skin, the lotus, eyes, then what else? Anything else?
He bears what he bears in his hands.
Yeah, what he wears in his hands. Okay, now next verse, what are we reading? Now, what is his dhoti, like the color of his dhoti? And here it is saying it's like the filament of a lotus flower. So if you remember the image I shared, inside the lotus there is filament. So it's like saffron yellowish color. That's the color of his dhoti. Right? So that's that. Then on his chest, what is there? There's a white curl of hair, and then Kastuba Mani. Right? Kastuba Mani. So that is the meditation in this. And Prabhupada actually he says the Lord is full in 6 opulences, and one of that opulence is wealth. So he's richly dressed with valuable ornaments like the Kastuba gem. Next sloka, 15.
Matadvire Bhapkalaya Paritam Vanamalaya Paradriya Haravalaya Kiritangadanupuram. Arundhati Mataji.
He also wears around his neck a garland of attractive sylvan flowers, and a swarm of bees, intoxicated by its delicious fragrance, hums around the garland. He is further superbly adorned with a pearl necklace, a crown, and pairs of armlets, bracelets, and anklets.
So not only he has a customer gem, but he also has a flower garland. And Prabhupada actually makes a point that in the spiritual world, it's not that the flower garlands, they grow old. I mean, they don't decay. Like here, if you actually, have a garland, and after a few hours, it starts, you see the petals turning brownish. But in the spiritual world, they're ever fresh, right? And similarly, the aroma is always there. It's not like our American flower. Even a rose, if you smell, it's like, where is the aroma? You have to add like perfume to a rose to make it smell. It's like so Kali flowers. But there in the spiritual world, the flowers have so much aroma and they don't lose the aroma. And because the flower garland has these aroma, then bees are always humming on in front of Vishnu on these flowers. Right? It's such a nice meditation. Like we should have meditate on this, like Kastuba gem, flower garland, fresh flowers. The bees are humming on that, right? And then further, he has a pearl necklace also. He has a crown. He has armlets, bracelets, anklets. And then Prabhupada further says, even the flowers picked from the trees and plants remain ever fresh, for everything in the spiritual sky retains its originality and does not fade. So, how Rannath Swami Maharaj makes the point, there is no thing in the spiritual world. Everything is a person. Even a flower is a person serving Radha Krishna, right? And everyone is eternal. So, where is the question of like decaying and losing its flavor, etc. So Prabhupada said, everything in the spiritual world is eternal and inexhaustible. Right? Everything taken from everything. Okay. And further he says, what is the formula in the spiritual world? Everything minus everything is what? Everything. How can you understand that? You have everything. Now you take away everything. What is left? Everything. So hence Prabhupada says, 1 minus 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is also 1. This is spiritual mathematics. Don't teach our kids this. They'll be like, what is this? Right? But what is the point here? The point is in the spiritual world, everything is inexhaustible. So it's like you take a flower from a tree. Is that tree less of one flower or does it become flowerless? No. This is inexhaustible. You take one flower, another flower will manifest. So you're taking it away, but still flowers are there. Right? So it is everything, you take everything and everything is already there. So that is the nature of the spiritual world. Right? So 1 minus 1, you take everything from it, it still remains the same. You know, something is there on Krishna's garland, you add one more flower, it is still Krishna's garland. So it is 1 plus 1 is also 1 that way. So the Prabhupada says this is spiritual mathematics, and there is no material calculation of their value in this case. Text 16.
Kanchi guno lasachtronim hridayam bhoja vishtaram darshaniyat tamam shantam manonayana vardhanam.
His loin and hips encircled by a girdle. He stands on the lotus of his devotee's heart, is most charming to look at, and his serene aspect gladdens the eyes and souls of the devotees who behold him.
So here, Kanchi Guno Lajat Chonim. His loins and hips are encircled by a girdle. So there is this yellow, saffron yellow cloth, but on top of that, there is this girdle, right? A girdle, a belt that is covering. And then Hridayam Bhuja Vistaram. So when we meditate on the form of Vishnu, where is Vishnu standing? In the heart of his devotee. So we can actually, for us, we can meditate, oh, in Srila Prabhupada's heart, that is the form of the Lord that we are meditating. You know, it's in the heart of the devotee Vishnu is standing. And then further he actually says, Darshaniyatam Shantam. So Prabhupada explains this. The Lord is so beautiful that Darshaniyatam, the highest kind of darshan, is to see the Lord. Once you see the Lord, you don't want to see anything else. Right? Like Chaitanya Charitamrita Rupa Goswami's verse. Once you see Govind there on the banks of the Yamuna, you don't want to see anything else. Right? So that is the perfection of our eyes is to see Krishna. This proper makes sense. Similarly, to hear, to touch, everything related to Krishna is the topmost perfection. Okay. And then further he says, Mano Nayana Vardhanam. The form of the Lord is so beautiful that it actually pleases the eyes, the mind, and the heart of the devotees. We just see that, and the devotee feels so happy that, oh, what is the higher perfection than seeing this beautiful form of the Lord? Right? And these verses, like when we come and take darshan of Radha Golokananda, we meditate on these verses. Like what is the dhoti Lord is wearing? What is the belt the Lord is wearing? How are his eyes? You know, and the Kastuba Muni and that, you know. So all these points we can actually meditate on nicely. Okay. And Prabhupada makes a point in his purport. He says like, Lord is so beautiful that everyone is attracted to him, except the impersonalists. And he makes the point, what is the impersonalist? They see the form of the Lord, they feel that attraction, but they say, no, this is Maya. Imagine that. They actually are seeing and getting attracted, but say, actually, this form of the Lord is Maya. So when we go beyond that, that is our perfection. So unfortunate. They've reached the perfection. It's like you're aspiring for something and you reach the perfection and they say, oh, no, this is not perfection. Let me go back from where I started. That is perfection. It's so stupid. So stupid philosophy. So everyone is attracted except the impersonalists. Right? So hence Prabhupada says that impersonal meditation, simply fruitless labor. Simply fruitless labor. Okay. Text 17.
Apicya darshanam shashvat sarvaloka namaskritam santam vayasi kaishore bhrityanu grahakataram.
The Lord is eternally very beautiful. He is worshipable by all the inhabitants of every planet. He is ever youthful and always eager to bestow his blessing upon his devotees.
So first one, apicya darshanam shashvat. Eternally very beautiful. Right? Krishna does not grow over 16 years old. Right? What is 16 years? What is it? Ratnarika, you were telling me that day, right? 16 years, 2 months, and so many days.
Forget.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the age of the Lord. 16 years, so many months, so many days. That's the thing. So he's eternally very beautiful. Like Prabhupada often makes the point that when Krishna was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was over 100 years old. because in Dwarka he already had grandchildren at that time. But still, do we see a photo of Krishna with a beard? Never, because eternally he is that 16-year-old boy. And then also it says, Shantam yasyasi kaishore. Kaishore. He's always at Kaishore age, always youthful. Right? That is our Lord. Um, and then Sarvaloka Namaskritam. All the inhabitants of all the planets, they worship the form of the Lord. Right? So today is Varaha Dwadashi, right? So everyone remembers Varaha, Lord Varaha from the third canto. Earlier we read about Varaha Dev, right? So when Varaha Dev appears, then what happens? People from Janaloka, from Brahmaloka, Janaloka, all the planets they are actually glorifying. Oh Varahadev, you are Yagya Purusha. And then they glorify the Lord. So here it says Sarva Loka Namaskritam. All the inhabitants of the planets are actually worshipping this Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then the last point is very nice. Britya means what? Britya, that's the verse, right? Britya means servant. Brityanuraga Kataram. Brityanuraga Kataram, we can remember. He's eager to bestow blessings on his Britya, on his devotee. And Prabhupada makes a point. Just like a devotee is always eager to serve Krishna, he's always looking for opportunities to serve Krishna. Similarly, the Lord is always eager to bestow blessings upon his devotee. Right? So we talked of previously the point of Santushtaha. How does a devotee experience Santushtaha?
By doing service.
By doing service, so a devotee does seva and he experiences the reciprocation of the Lord who is always eager to bless the devotee. And that exchange of seva, just by doing seva, we experience happiness. And then that reciprocation is the other side, and both of them together, and devotee is santushta. Right? Santushta. And then, so he says, Brityanuraga Kataram. So we can always remember this line. Brityanuraga Kataram. Britya means servant, Anuraga, merciful, Kataram. He is eager to actually give his anugraha to his devotees. Okay. And 17, and also, Prabhupada says he's ready to show favor and benediction to devotees. Right. Okay. And then Prabhupada says, for the non-devotees, he is always silent. He does not, he's like Paramatma, Upadrishta Anumanta. He does not exchange. But for devotees, he's eager to show, right? So Prabhupada also quotes Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam Adyam Puranam Purushom Navayovanam cha. Navayovanam. He's always Navayovanam. 18.
Kirtanya tirta yashasam punya shloka yashaskaram dhyaya devam rangam yavanachyavate manaha.
The glory of the Lord is always worth singing, for his glories enhance the glories of his devotees. One should therefore meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead and upon his devotees. One should meditate on the eternal form of the Lord until the mind becomes fixed.
Okay, this is a very nice point in the purport Prabhupada said. So what is it? 18 is Kirtanya Tirtha Yashasam. Right? So it is worth. Tirtha means the form of the Lord. The form of the Lord is worth glorifying. Right? Kirtanya Tirtha Yashasam. So it's worth singing the glories of the Lord. Punya Shloka Yashaskaram. His glories enhance the glories of the devotees. So Punya Shloka refers to what? The devotees of the Lord. Devotees of the Lord. And Prabhupada actually explains this so nicely in the purport. He says, Punya Shloka refers to a devotee. Punya Shloka Yashaskaram. Right? So the Lord enhances the glories of the devotee. So as one becomes purified by chanting the holy name of Lord, okay. So Prabhupada, as one becomes purified chanting the holy name of the Lord, one can become purified by chanting the holy name of a devotee. Right? So which is a shloka where it says Punya Shloka? Famous.
Ashtaprayashu Bhadre. No.
Before that.
Shrunvatam Sakata.
Shrunvatam sa Katha Krishna Punya Shloka. Right? What is that? Shrunvatam sa Katha Krishna.
Punya Shravana.
Punya Shravanam. Yeah. So Punya Shravanam. But that, what is it saying? That activity itself is Punya. Right? Punya, virtuous, the hearing. So here it actually means Punya Shloka, devotee. So just as one is purified by hearing Krishna Katha, one is purified by chanting the holy name of a devotee. So when we say Jai Prabhupada, that's as good as chanting Hare Krishna. Right? That's the point that Prabhupada actually. Just by chanting the name of a devotee, we are actually getting purified. The pure devotee of a Lord and Lord Himself, that way are non-different. And to chant the names of the devotees of the Lord is a very sanctified process. So we can chant Jai Prabhupada, right? So that's as good. And then Prabhupada gives the example how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was, this is after the transformation, and when he was teaching students, once he was chanting the name of the gopis. Gopis, like he was chanting. And one of the students came to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and said, like, why are you chanting the name of gopis? You should chant the name of Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he was in the mood, he was in his internal mood by chanting the name of the gopis, then he got angry and he took a stick and started chasing the student. And the student ran like in fear of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then the student went to the other students and he said, you know what happened to them? Lord Chaitanya, he's chanting, they don't say Lord Chaitanya, or Nimai Pandit. Nimai Pandit is chanting the name of the gopis. He's not chanting Krishna's name, he's chanting the name of the gopis. And all the students are like, what's wrong with Nimai Pandit? And they started criticizing Nimai Pandit. And it is after this episode where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes to Nityananda Prabhu in private. And he actually says, I brought the medicine to cure the disease. But on the other hand, the disease is actually becoming worse and worse. Why? Because people are criticizing Nimai Pandit. And by criticizing, they are actually, instead of receiving the mercy, they are actually going away. Hence, I should actually take sannyas. That was a conversation with Nitai. So Prabhupada refers to this, how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is showing the example, chanting the name of the gopis. So chanting the name of a devotee of Krishna and chanting the name of Krishna is actually the same that way. So Prabhupada explains this. And then he also makes a point that in the shloka it says, the Lord glorifies the devotees. So a devotee by himself, he is most humble. He does not want any glorification. He just is satisfied to do humble seva. But the Lord sees, like Srila Prabhupada, he just wants to serve his instruction of his Guru Maharaj. But because he's so selfless, Krishna gave him all fame, all around the world. His divine grace, Abhay Charnaravinda, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, this Jagat Guru traveling all around the world, Krishna gave him all the fame. Like how in that conversation they said, like, one disciple asked Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna. Why didn't he preach all around the world? What does Prabhupada say? Humbly, very humbly, he left that task for us. Right? For us. So it's like, so Krishna likes to glorify his devotees. Devotees don't want anything. But Krishna says, no, you're doing so much for me. I want to glorify you. I want to glorify you. And this is actually because we are Gaur Purnima, Nityananda Tridashi is coming, and that's also a reason why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. Because he wants to repay the debt of Srimati Radharani. Hence, he's going door to door, right? And glorifying Srimati Radharani, engaging everyone in the service of Srimati Radharani. And that is the reason of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's like, how can I na pare hum repay the debt of all these gopis? The only thing I can do is I can grow around and glorify. And hence we say, Yadi Gaur na hote, Radhara Mahima, how will we know? It is only Gauranga Mahaprabhu who is going all around and glorifying Srimati Radharani. I cannot pay the debt. All I can do is glorify. So similarly with the Lord and devotees, the devotees just want to selflessly serve the Lord. And then Lord says, oh, you're serving me so nicely. Can I give you something? Yeah, give me more seva. And like, no, I want to give some pain. No, just give me more seva. I want to serve you more and more and more. Then what does Krishna do? Like, he's serving me so nicely, but he doesn't want anything. I'll just glorify him. And that way, the Lord likes to glorify his devotees. So that's the verse we read. Right? Punya shloka yashaskaram. And then, right. And then the last point here is dhyaye devam samagranyam yava na chaite manaha. One should meditate upon all his limbs until the mind becomes fixed. Right? So one by one, we are meditating on the limbs until the mind becomes fixed. Right. So and Prabhupada also makes the point. He quotes Premanjana Churito Bhakti Viloshanina. So we have to go through the stage where our eyes are anointed with love of Godhead. And hence everywhere we see, who do we see? Oh, this. This is the energy of my Sham Sundar Krishna. So Prabhupada mentioned, for us devotees, what is our meditation? Especially beautiful blackish form Sham Sundar. That's our Ishtadev. Right? Radha Sham Sundar ki jai. Okay, and Prabhupada also quotes this verse, Om Tad Vishnu Param Padam Sada Pashyanti Surya. You've heard this sloka, right? When we have any yagya, we always chant this. And also they say, when you do Achman every day, we chant this sloka. What does the shloka say? Om Tad Vishnu Param Padam Sada Pashyanti Surya. Just like the sun rays always shine down, into this mundane world. Similarly, the vision of godly people, just like the sun rays are coming down, the vision of the devotees is always fixed on the abode of Lord Vishnu, right? Abode of Lord Vishnu. And that Sada Pashanti Divya Chakshuratanam Tad Vipraso Vipano Jagrivansa Samindati Vishnu Yat Parampadam. Right? And yeah. So they are also able to, when you say Jagrivam Sasamindati, it is these personalities who are always looking at the abode of Vishnu who can actually give that abode of Vishnu to everyone. Right? So there's a meditation on those devotees of the Lord. Okay. You have a question, Vrindavan?
Prabhuji, there is a question. List the 8 kinds of forms recommended for the devotee to see. And
Yeah.
Prabhupada is mentioning in the second paragraph, but
Yeah. So he mentions, right? Sand, clay, wood, stone, mind, jewels, metal, and painted colors.
okay, thank you.
So Prabhupada actually here is making the point that the same purpose served when devotee worships the form of the Lord is like the meditation of the Lord. When we are going and doing Aarti of Shri Shri Radha Golokananda, he says that's the same as meditating on the form of the Lord. Because even in Aarti, what do we do? 4 around the lotus feet, right? Around the waist, 2, 3 around the head, 7 around the body. That's the meditation. Right? That's the meditation. That's how we are worshipping. So he said the same thing is achieved by worshipping the deity in the temple. Okay, next 19. Anyway, the reference to that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanting Gopi Gopi is Adi Leela 17th chapter, text 247. Adi 17 247. The whole story is that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chants Gopi Gopi. Okay.
Text 19. Stitam rajantam shayanam va guhashayam prekshaniye hitam dhyayach chudha bhavena chetasa.
So there's one more point actually I missed out in the last paragraph. Prabhupada says the beauty of the Lord, devotees connected with his activities are also glorified. So I briefly mentioned that, but here Prabhupada says even like demoniac children, like Prahlad Maharaj, even he, though he's a family of demon, he's glorified by the Lord. And I was actually thinking on this point that how the entire Srimad Bhagavatam is what glorification of the devotees of the Lord, right? So imagine when we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna is so pleased. More than the glorification of Krishna, when he hears the glorification of devotees, he becomes more pleased. So when you're studying Bhagavatam, imagine how much Krishna is pleased that we are actually meditating on the glories of his devotees. So that's a nice point to meditate. Okay, next. 19, we read the shloka, so translation.
Thus, always measured in devotional service, the yogi visualizes the Lord standing, moving, lying down, or sitting within him. For the pastimes of the Supreme Lord are always beautiful and attractive. Hare Krishna.
So,
Always mind from the devotional service. Yogi visualizes the Lord standing, moving, lying down, sitting within him.
So, so what is this? He say dhyana, one should meditate on sitam, either the Lord standing, vrajantam, the Lord moving, asinam, the Lord sitting, shayanam, the Lord lying down, or gaha asham, the Lord dwelling in the heart. So either of these we can actually meditate. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually makes an amazing point here. He says this verse, it seems because it says, okay, once you meditate on all this, Shuddha Bhavena. Shuddha Bhavena means bhav is the emotions. Shuddha means pure emotion. With heart filled with pure emotions, the yogi should meditate on the Lord, standing, moving, sitting, etc. Right? And then further it says, Prekshaniya Ihitam, on the beautiful pastimes of the Lord. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes a point that this is almost like the meditation of this verse can be interpreted as a meditation of Raga Nuga Bhaktas. Why is that? And he says, when it says in this verse that one should meditate on the Lord sitting, one should actually meditate on the Lord who is sitting. Shriman Rasa Rasa Rambi Vamshi Tatasita. He's sitting in Vamshivat. So you meditate on the Lord sitting in the under a desire tree in Sri Vrindavan Dham. Right? Then he says, Vrajant, the Lord going, Vrajantam. Then you meditate on how the Lord in the morning he leaves Vrindavan for Mother Yashoda, and all the cowherd boys take the cow and go into the forest. You meditate on that. Then Asinam. Okay, so the first one is Sitam, where he's situated on the base at the desire tree. Asinam, he's sitting on a jewel throne, or he's sitting on Sri Giriraj Govardhan. Meditate on Krishna sitting on Giriraj Govardhan. Then Shayanam, you can actually meditate on the Lord sleeping on Ananta Shesh or in a cave in Sri Giriraj Govardhan. So he's saying that this is actually meditation of Raga Nuga Bhaktas because they meditate on all these pastimes. How does Krishna go to the forest? When is Krishna coming back? And when he comes back, how's the dust of Vrindavan raising? And that's a sign that Krishna has come back, etc. etc. So that's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But in this verse also we can say, like, once you meditate with pure emotions on the Lord, standing, moving, sitting, lying down, or dwelling in the heart. Right? Prabhupada says the process of meditation on the form of the Lord and chanting the glories and pastimes of the Lord is the same. Either you meditate on the Lord or you sing and you chant the glories of the Lord. They say both are actually focusing on the Lord. Hearing and fixing the mind on the pastimes of the Lord is easier than visualizing the form of the Lord. Everyone can agree on this? Like practically we say, okay, let me actually focus my mind on the form of the Lord. Right? And maybe a little bit maybe successful, but then immediately there's like, we cannot focus. But when we are hearing Hari Katha, can we be absorbed? Yes, we can be absorbed to a greater extent than meditation. Hence, Prabhupada making the point that hearing and fixing the mind on the Leela is actually easier than meditating because the mind is disturbed, that's agitated, and the meditation will become interrupted. But when we are hearing, we are forced to actually focus. Right? Forced to focus. And also, Prabhupada makes a nice point. He says, hearing includes applying the mind. Is that true? Right now we are hearing. Does it include applying the mind? How?
Thinking about it, true.
Okay, thinking about, yes.
What we are hearing.
Yeah. So one is like you can say, okay, we are hearing, but at the same time we are meditating, we are doing smaran. That's one aspect. What else? What is the next aspects connected with good Shravanam? We have discussed this before. Shravanam.
Kirtanam, and then you glorify. After you hear, you glorify with other devotees, spread the word.
Okay, so that is one, yes. But if you see the 5 aspects I said, Shravanam, then Mananam. Mananam means what? You recollect what you have heard, right? Then Nidhi Dhyasana, you contemplate, okay, what did I hear? How can I practically implement in my life? Oh, I heard this beautiful form. Maybe during Japa, I will meditate on, that is Nidhi Dhyasana. Then Pathanam is also an aspect where you say, oh, such a nice shloka, devotional shloka, let me memorize it. And then kirtanam, you hear. So all this hearing becomes complete when it's associated, connected with these aspects of mananam, nididhyasanam. So shravanam includes mananam, nididhyasanam, pathanam, and kirtanam. Right? Everyone got it? Mananam, nididhyasanam, pathanam, kirtanam. Okay. Next, text number 20. So now he has made the point that we can meditate on each one of the limbs of the Lord. So from 20 onwards, he'll start meditating on each limb of the Lord. I mean, then 20, he'll say that, and then we'll go on the individual limbs. Everyone with me? Good on meditation?
Prabhuji, just a thought, we discussed meditating on the form of the Lord compared to hearing is more easy.
Yes.
It's coming to the impersonal aspect only, right, Prabhuji?
No, but see, the point is when we are hearing from a devotee, that's the key point, not from hearing from some impersonal. But when you're hearing from a devotee, what happens when you hear from a devotee, that devotion of that devotee is actually you're absorbing that. So in that devotion, because it is bhakti, you're hearing, oh, Krishna does this in the morning, he takes his cows like this, and then this is how he killed Aghasur. It's all personal. Where is the question of impersonality here?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, that makes sense. Yes, Prabhuji.
All about the personal Lord we are describing. Like here, someone talks about the form of the Lord. It says, this is how Krishna looks, this is the color of his skin. It's all about personalism.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, what are the 5 stages? I got 4, it looks like. Mananam, Nidhyasanam,
Yeah,
Pathanam.
it starts with Shravanam. Shravanam.
Oh, Shravanam. Okay.
Shravanam.
Thank you.
20.
Tasmilabdha padam chittam sarvavayava samstitam vilakshyaikatra samyujyad ange bhagavato munihi.
Hare Krishna. In fixing his mind on the eternal form of the Lord, the yogi should not take a collective view of all his limbs, but should fix the mind on each individual limb of the Lord.
So tasmin labda padam chittam sarva avyayam. So instead of having fixed on all the limbs, one should actually vilaksha, fix each one of those limbs. So next few verses, we'll talk of first lotus feet, right? What is the order? When we come and we see Radha Golokan, do we see the face first? No, first we meditate on the lotus feet. So we'll start with the lotus feet. So next shloka will be lotus feet. Then we go to the the knees, then the ankle, the knees, then thighs, and up, waist, and so on. Right? So now individual. Now Prabhupada here in this purport, he talks of this verse says Muni. Muni means what? In Bhagavad Gita, one of the purports, Prabhupada says Muni means one who is expert at speculation, mental speculation. Right? And then Prabhupada says, Muni, he compares Muni versus Bhakti Yogi. A Muni is speculating, but what does a Bhakti Yogi do? He actually renders actual service to Krishna. Hence, a Bhakti Yogi is better than a Muni. So that's what Prabhupada is like using that word Muni. Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita, which is a purport, I think in chapter 3, if I'm not wrong, where it says the Muni is one. If two people, they don't disagree, they are not Munis. That means they have to speculate and say, you said this? No, this is another thing. That is a Muni. So Prabhupada here compares Muni with Bhakti Yogi. Okay. Okay, next shloka. Let's see if maybe the devotees can read the shlokas also. Or maybe who? Arunati Mati, you like to read the Sanskrit for some time? 21.
Which one? 21? Sanchintayet bhagavata charanarvindam vajrankushadvaja saroruha lanchanathyam uttungarakta vilasannakha chakravala jyotsnabhiraha ahatamahad druyandhakaram.
Okay, translation.
The devotee should first concentrate his mind on the Lord's lotus feet, which are adorned with the marks of thunderbolt, a goat, a banner, and a lotus. The splendor of their beautiful ruby nails resembles the orbit of the moon and dispels the thick gloom on one's heart.
Okay, so this is a meditation on the signs of the lotus feet of Krishna. So let me share my screen. See here, you can see. So Krishna's right foot, right lotus feet has 11 symbols, and the left lotus feet has 7 symbols, or 8 symbols actually, 8. So 11 and 8. So here, what does it say? Sanjay Bhagavata Charana Aravinda. One should concentrate on the lotus feet of the Lord. And then what are the symbols? Vajra. Vajra means thunderbolt. Right? So you can see Vajra on the screen. That is the thunderbolt. So what should one meditate? So each one of these aspects are actually, there is a point to meditate on that aspect of thunderbolt. Right? So here it says for the thunderbolt, it says one should meditate that it is when you meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord, that meditation is just like a thunderbolt that will actually destroy our mountain of sins. Our sins are like a mountain, but meditation on the thunderbolt will destroy that mountain of sins. That's the first point. Then it says Dhwaja. Second is Ankusha. Ankusha means goad, like the rod for driving elephants. So we meditate on that Ankusha, like you see here, right? You're following? Here you can see Ankusha. And here you can see Vajra. You see my pointer or no? Yeah, okay. So Ankusha, Vajra, right? So what is this elephant goad? Like, people who are driving an elephant, they actually, use that goad. Say, go there, go here, right? So similarly, when we meditate on this Ankusha, we meditate that, oh, by this meditation, oh Krishna, you actually become that goad to actually control the elephant of my mind and bring it to the right path. So that is the meditation on that. Then next is Dhwaja, banner, right? You see here in the center, you have the Dhwaja, the banner, right? So what is a banner? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, banner gives the highest kingdom to the mind. It is like, when you win something, then there's a flag, right? They say, I have won. So similarly, we can say that meditation is giving us the flag into Vaikuntha. Then next is a Saroruha. There's a lotus. Right? Everyone can see the lotus, Kamala. Here it says Kamala right here. So Kamala is what? It's an ornament to the lake of his mind. Okay. I mean, see, this is what explanations I'm giving is the explanations given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But also you can see, I can also share this as a whole, here I think I have put it. Yeah. So here actually they have detailed explanations. I can actually share this link where it talks of like, okay, we read about lotus. So this mark increases greed for nectar in the minds of the bee-like devotees who meditate on the lotus feet. The lotus also signifies that just as the lotus grows out of water, similarly those whose eyes swell with tears upon holding the Lord's lotus feet to their heart receive the highest benefit. And then so it's like really nice, like Ankusha. This mark indicates the meditation on the lotus feet that brings the elephants of the devotee's mind under control and keeps them on the right path. Right? So I just made that flag. This mark announces that the devotee is meditating on the lotus feet. He gives security and safe protection from all sorts of fear. Right? Thunderbolt. This mark reveals the meditation on the lotus feet, smashes to pieces the mountains of the devotee's karmic reaction to past sins. And similarly, so all these signs are very nicely explained. So it's nice to meditate on these signs, like each sign, what is it? What is the significance? What is the meditation? And next time we see Krishna's lotus feet, we'll actually start thinking of these signs. Okay, what all signs are there? Thunderbolt, right? Then Ankusha, the elephant goat, lotus, then there's Chakra, there's Balikon. Actually, Balikon we'll mention in the next sloka, right? Where Balikon is there, umbrella is there, Chakra is there. So all these signs are actually given, right? And explains these signs. Okay. And then further it says, Lanchana Adyam, feet are adorned with these marks, Utunga Rakta Vilasat Nakha. And not only that, when you're meditating on the lotus feet, it says, the splendor of the beautiful, the brilliant ruby nails right? So it is on the lotus feet. So you can think of Radha Golokananda's lotus feet, like Golokananda's lotus feet. The nails are actually shining. They have such an effulgence, a beautiful splendor that it resembles the moon, Chakravala, circle of the moon, right? And it dispels the thick darkness in one's heart. So when you're meditating on the nails, we can say, oh, so beautiful, just like a moon. And just by meditating on those nails of Krishna's lotus feet, all the darkness in my heart will be vanquished. Right? So it is like, taking darshan is this deep aspect of meditation. Right? It's not so much of like, oh, you saw Radha Golokananda? Oh, which color they are wearing? It is not like so much of like, okay, yeah, color. Maybe your meditation is strong, you will remember the colors and all that, but it's more of a personal connection that, okay, lotus feet, this symbol, left lotus feet has this, right lotus feet has this. What does this mean? Thunderbolt, God, what does this mean? Chakra, it actually makes the point. Meditation on this chakra gives complete protection to anyone who meditates on this chakra. Everyone okay with me? Anyone have any comments, any points to add on this?
Would you please share this?
Yeah.
And I've heard that, is there a book where it is only on meditations on the symbols on the lotus feet of the lords, like Lord Nityananda, Chaitanya, Srimati Radharani, Krishna? There is a book like that,
It does.
right?
Like if you see this figure below, you have Nityananda's lotus feet. So you can meditate. Tomorrow is Nityananda's Devadashi. So you can meditate on these symbols here. And then there's Lord Krishna. And then here on the right side is Srimati Radharani's lotus feet.
Babji, do you know that? Can you share that reference for the book also? That's fine.
I've seen that book. It's like a small book actually, but
Yeah.
I can search where the book. I don't remember. I think it just said lotus symbols. I forget. I've seen it, but I don't have the book actually. But I'll share these references, which will give all the explanations.
Prabhu, I think that book is Touchstone Media's book. I have seen that in Mayapur.
I've seen it, but I don't copy it. Okay, let's continue. So that's the meditation on the lotus feet. Next verse also continues on the same meditation. So 22. Arindam.
प्रवरोदकेन तीर्थेन मूर्धन्यधिकृतेन शिवः शिवोऽभूत् ध्यातुर्मनः शमलसलिलनिसृष्टवज्रम् ध्याये चिरं भगवतः चरणारविन्दम्.
Hare Krishna. The blessed Lord Shiv becomes all the more blessed by bearing on his head the holy waters of the Ganges, which has its source in the water that washed the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolts hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time.
So it says Chiram, for a long time you should meditate. And also I mentioned the point. It says what? One should meditate on the thunderbolt. And thunderbolt is what? Manaha Shamala Shaila. Shaila is what? Shaila is a mountain, right? So mountain. So we meditate on the thunderbolt so that the mountain of sins in our heart is actually destroyed. And Prabhupada explains this. He says, mind is associated with material energy from time immemorial. And hence, all those impressions have become like a solid mountain. Now, when you have a solid mountain that needs to be destroyed, you need to actually meditate for a long time because the mountain has become solid. So hence Prabhupada explains that because it's such a solid mountain, therefore the chiram is important. You meditate for a long time so that the entire mountain is destroyed. The other aspect of this verse is basically glorifying the how yat saucha, right? The saucha means washing. The water that has sarita pravara, the water that has washed the lotus feet of Krishna. What is that? Ganga, right? Ganga is received on the head on Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is such a nice, it says, Adikratena Shivaha Shivo Bhuta. Lord Shiva becomes even more Shiva. That means what? Means even more auspicious by receiving the Ganga on the lotus feet because on his head because it has washed the lotus feet of Vishnu. So we meditate on this, when we're seeing the lotus feet, all these points like, oh, the water that's washed the lotus feet, even Lord Shiva, that great personality, he receives on his head and he feels like, oh, I have become more auspicious by this. How powerful is just the meditation on lotus feet. Okay. And then Prabhupada also uses this to make the point that, this verse certainly proves that Lord Shiva and Krishna are not on the equal level. Lord Shiva is feeling blessed to receive the water that has washed Vishnu's feet. So, therefore, Ekale Ishvara Krishna are Sabhritya. The only Ishvara is Krishna. Everyone else, including Lord Shiva, is actually a Bhritya, a servant of Krishna. Right? And Prabhupada also quotes that how Sanatan Goswami, he says, if you put the Lord and demigods on the same level, you are a dash. What?
Pashandi.
Ashandi, the atheist, and this is actually verse, if you see, it's CC Madhya 18:116. So if you see, Prabhupada often quotes it, Yastu Narayan Devam, Brahma Rudradi Devata, Samatvatena Viksheta, Sa Pashandi Bhavedru. And basically, one who considers demigods like Brahma and Shiva to be equal level as Narayan, yes, to Narayan Devam, Brahma Rudradi Devata, that person is considered as an offender, atheist, or a Pashandi. Text 23.
जानुद्वयं जलजलोचनया जनन्या लक्ष्म्याखिलस्य सुरवन्दितया विधातुः ऊर्वोर्निधाय करपल्लवरोचिषायत् संलालितं हृदि विभोर् अभवस्य कुर्यात्.
The yogi should fix in his heart the activities of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by all demigods and is the mother of the Supreme Person, Brahma. She can always be found massaging the legs and thighs of the Transcendental Lord very carefully and serving him in this way.
So now we are progressing up from the lotus feet, and this verse is saying what? Lakshmi. Where is Lakshmi ji always situated? At the feet of the Lord, right? She's like, it's on the chest also, but her seva is to massage the legs of the Lord. So here it says, "O lotus-eyed mother," he's actually calling his mother, right? Lakshmi. He said, "Lakshmi Akhila Seya." She is the mother of the entire universe, and then Sura Randita. She is worshipped by all the demigods, including the Suras. That means including Brahma. Everyone is worshipping Lakshmi. She is the mother of the universe. But what is our meditation? That Lakshmi ji is actually massaging the thighs of the Lord. So now from the lotus feet, we have come to the knees, and then now we have come to the thighs. And then what is the meditation of the thighs? The thighs are being massaged by lotus feet. And one who actually meditates on this, abhavasya, it actually extinguishes your material life. Just meditation on the thighs means your material life is finished. And Prabhupada also explains that this abhavasya could also mean that the Lord who is transcendental, who is beyond this bhava, beyond this material world, right? So Prabhupada actually explains that one should not think that Lakshmi is just like a wife is serving a husband, Lakshmi ji is serving Narayan. No. Like Brahmaji is born from the navel of Lord Vishnu, and he doesn't take the help of Lakshmi ji. So Lord Shiva, Vishnuji is actually Atmara. He doesn't need anyone. So it's not that, oh, the husband is dependent on the wife for seva or something. No, it is Lakshmi ji who is the mother of everyone and also worshipped by Brahma ji. She is massaging the thighs of the Lord. So that is the meditation here. Okay, so next sloka.
सुपर्णभुजयोरभिशोभमानाौ ओजो निधि अतसिका कुसुमावभासौ व्यालं विपीतवरवासविवर्तमाना काञ्चीकलापपरिरम्भि नितम्बबिम्बम्.
Okay, what is the
Hare
color?
Kr-
Yeah, go ahead, Mata. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you want me to read the
Yes,
translation, Prabhu?
go ahead.
Okay. 328:24. Next, the yogi should fix his mind in meditation on the personality of Godhead's thighs, the storehouse of all energy. The Lord's thighs are whitish blue, like the luster of the linseed flower, and appears most graceful when the Lord is carried on the shoulders of Garuda. Also, the yogi should contemplate his rounded hips, which are encircled by a girdle that rests on the exquisite yellow silk cloth that extends down to his ankles. Hare
Mm.
Krishna.
So let's see this. What is the color of the thighs that we should meditate on? Is the color of a linseed flower. So this is a linseed flower. So you can meditate how the Lord's thighs are like bluish white, right? You see a little bit whitish on this flower, and blue and white together. That is the color of the thighs, right? So here, and how are we meditating on the thighs? So it says the two thighs are situated on the shoulders of Garuda. Right, Garuda is carrying the Lord, and the Lord sits on with his thighs on the shoulders of Garuda. So you meditate on the thighs which are situated on the shoulders of Garuda, and this is Uja Nidhi, the storehouse of all energy. So Prabhupada explains that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one of his opulences is all strength. But where is the strength stored? The strength is actually stored in the thighs of the Lord. That's how Prabhupada explains. Okay. Then, yes, with luster of linseed flower. So meditation on, so we came from the knees, from the lotus feet to the knees to the thighs. And next is one should nitamba bimbam. One should meditate on the rounded hips, which is encircled by the girdle. We already talked about this. That rests on exquisite yellow cloth, right, the dhoti, which is extending all the way to the ankle. So meditate, everyone. So we have the Lord, these rounded hips are there, and there's a belt, and below the belt, that is the yellow cloth that goes all the way to the ankles, to the bottom, right? So that's how the meditation. And Prabhupada says the description of the transcendental form of the Lord is exactly represented in the Archa Vigraha. You go to any ISKCON temple, you see how Krishna is dressed. Basically, we are reading that description here. So the point is that the worship of the Lord in the temple is exactly what is the actual form of the Lord, how the Lord actually looks. It's not some kind of imagination. This is how the Lord is. The proper makes the point. Okay, 25. Let's continue. So all this up to 32 is all meditation. Let's just continue. 25.
नाभिः हृदं भुवनकोशगृहो गुहोधरस्थम् यत्रात्मयोनिदिशनाखिललोकपद्मम् यूढं हरिन्मणिवृष स्तनयोरमुष्य ध्यायेद्वयं विशदहार मयूखगौरम्.
Maybe who's next?
Shri Radhe Mataji.
Hare Krishna. The yogi should then meditate on his moon-like navel in the center of his abdomen. From his navel, which is the foundation of the entire universe, sprang the lotus stem containing all the different planetary systems. The lotus is the residence of Brahma, the first created being. In the same way, the yogi should concentrate his mind on the Lord's nipples, which resemble a pair of most exquisite emeralds and which appear whitish because of the rays of the milk white pearl necklaces adorning his chest.
So next is like we are going up. We meditated on the waist. Now is the navel, right? And here it's interesting. It says Udarastam, which is situated in the Udara. We know Damodara, right? Udara, the abdomen. And then further it says Guha Bhuvana Kosha. This is the foundation of all the worlds. Why? Because the lotus, we read already the lotus, how it comes from this abdomen. And on the lotus stem is what? The 14 planetary systems. right? So hence he says, Akhila Loka, all the planetary systems are situated on this lotus. And on top of that, who stays? Yatra Atma Yoni. Atma Yoni is Brahmaji. Brahmaji stays on top. So that's the meditation. And then further you come to the breast, the nipples of the Lord. And here it says they are emerald and then they appear whitish. Why? Because of the pearl necklace that we read before. The Lord is wearing the pearl necklace. So pearls are shining so much that the white rays are actually coloring the breast in that way, radiating on the breast. So, I mean, this is really like verses, not so much to explain, but more of like our, meditation, verses of meditation. Okay, 26. And then we'll just do
दिवसं ऋषभस्य महाविभूते पुंसा मनोनयननिवृत्तिम् आदधानं कण्ठं च कौस्तुभमणि अधिभूषणार्थं कुर्यान्मनस्यखिललोकनमस्कृतस्य.
Hare Krishna. The yogi should then meditate on the chest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the abode of Goddess Mahalakshmi. The Lord's chest is the source of all transcendental pleasure for the mind and full satisfaction for the eyes. The yogi should then imprint on his mind the neck of the Personality of Godhead, who is adored by the entire universe. The neck of the Lord serves to enhance the beauty of Kaustubha gem, which hangs on his chest. Hare Krishna.
So, see, we already read about Kaustubha gem, but that was the full form of the Lord. Now we are going to individual, right? So next, after we read about the breast, now we are coming to the chest, Rishabhayasya. So Vaksha Rishabhayasya. So of the Lord, the chest of the Lord. And this is the abode of Mahalakshmi. So Mahalakshmi is serving, but she also resides on the chest of the Lord. And then Pumsa Mana Nayananipritam. He bestows transcendental pleasure to the mind and eyes of the devotees. And so just by the darshan of the chest, one can actually, devotees feel transcendental pleasure. Prabhupada actually explains that the various energies to create, to maintain, and to destroy is actually stored in the chest of the Lord. And this power is represented by Mahalakshmi. Okay, Mahalakshmi. And by meditating on the chest of the Lord, a yogi, he derives the Ashtasiddhis. Because all those powers are here. So by meditating on chest, he gets all the Ashtasiddhis. Next we come to the neck, right? Kantham. Kantham of the Akhila Loka Namaskara. Persons who are adorned by this entire universe, right? Kaustubha Mani. And then the nice thing is, enhances the beauty of Kaustubha gem. So when Lord is wearing Kaustubha gem, it is actually the Kaustubha gem which is beautified by the beauty of the Lord. Normally for for people, it is the opposite. You wear ornaments so that you are ornamented. And you say, oh, you look so good because you have ornaments. For Krishna, it is opposite. Bhushana Bhushanangam. The ornaments are beautified because they are present on Krishna. Right? Similarly, Kaustubha gem is beautified because of his presence on Krishna. Now, interestingly, in this purport, Prabhupada makes a point. There's no difference between constantly visiting the temple and directly seeing the Lord and to meditate on the form of the Lord. And makes the point that if you are at that stage, he already made the point earlier, it is very difficult. But if you are at a stage that yes, you can close your eyes and get darshan of Radha Golokananda, you can really meditate on the form, then that is actually more advanced than Diti worship. Because you can do that. But in general, we cannot do that. And Diti worship is so important. But Prabhupada makes the point that, advanced yogi, he just sits anywhere, closes his eyes, like, we see Rupa Goswami. He just sits anywhere, closes his eyes, and he's actually seeing Radha Krishna Leela going on. So advanced. So for such personalities, is there a need to go to a temple? No, Krishna is manifest in the core of their heart. So they are so advanced. Right? But for us, when we are unable to do that, we should visit the temple again and again, take darshan of the Lord. And here it says, Prabhupada says, the Lord bestows his blessings of transcendental pleasure on anyone who visits the temple, or someone who meditates on the form, or someone who hears. So either you're hearing about Krishna, or you're meditating on the form of the Lord, or you're taking darshan of Radha Golokananda. All of these, the Lord actually says, yes. somehow or other he's actually connecting with me, I will shower my blessings upon that person. Okay, that's 26. Let's see the time.
27, right? आहुश्चमन्दरगिरे परिवर्तनेन निर्लिप्तबाहुवलयान् अधिलोकपालान् सञ्चिन्तये शतरमसह्य तेज शङ्खं च तत्करसरोरुह राजहंसम्.
Hare Krishna translation. The yogi should further meditate upon the Lord's four arms, which are the source of all the powers of the demigods who control the various functions of material nature. Then the yogi should concentrate on the polished ornaments which were burnished by Mount Mandara as it revolved. He should also duly contemplate the Lord's discus, the Sudarshana Chakra, which contains 1,000 spokes and a dazzling lustre, as well as the conch, which looks like a swan in his lotus-like form. Hare Krishna.
So further, so nice. It says like once you meditate, first is what? So we came up to the chest, neck, and now is the arms, right? So it says bhuja. So once you meditate on the four arms of the Lord, which is the source of all powers of the demigods. So here it actually explains where do the demigods get their power from? From the arms of the Lord, right? And then further it says once you meditate, concentrate on the polished ornaments. The jewels on the Lord have been polished. How have they been polished? When the Lord actually accepted Kurma avatar, and he was in that pastime of the churning of the milk ocean pastime, and then Kurma was there, and top of that there was Mandara mountain, and when the Mandara mountain was actually moved, they were churning the Mandara mountain, then the ornaments of the Lord were actually polished. So we meditate that, oh, how the ornaments are polished by the entire Mandara mountain has polished the ornaments. Like we also say the point, right? Why did Kurma take that form when Mandara mountain was being churned? There was a little itch on his back. It's amazing. The Lord is so inconceivable and so glorious that just an itch. Okay, let's do a whole pastime. Demigods, demons all come. You do this pastime so that the itch on my back is like, Lord is so amazing. So ornaments are polished by this. So once you meditate on that. And the third point is once you meditate on the Sudarshan Chakra. Sudarshan Chakra has 1,000 spokes, dazzling luster, and then also on the conch. The fourth point actually is a conch, and the conch is which looks like a swan in his lotus-like palm. Didn't we read this before? I just remember when I was just speaking, I just remembered this. Anyone remembers that reference? Where we read of like the pinkish palm of the Lord and how the lotus on that pinkish palm of the Lord looks like just a swan. It is there in the first canto, I think. We
So
have
in the description of the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord is coming, the
Kumaras,
chapter,
with the Kumaras.
I think so. Lord comes with a lotus flower.
because Prabhu, when I did the AI visuals, that
That
is
is
one
there.
of the images.
Okay. Oh, I thought in the first canto there's some reference to this. I'm sure we have discussed this, but
The first canto reference is his lips and all that, like a swan, right? When he was entering the Dwarka.
yeah. That's what I was thinking, that around that Dwarka Leela, there is something. Okay. So anyway, so this is a meditation. And then we'll stop here also. 43 today also is a busy day. And tomorrow festival, so Nityananda Trayadashi. So we'll continue with this meditation. And then, the rest of the chapter, like few more verses up to text 32. Some of the verses are very nice where you meditate. Just by meditating on the smile of the Lord, it dries away our ocean of tears of material. Like so many nice points are there. So we'll read further on this meditation and we'll complete the chapter next time. And then, so that is yogi. So we talked of Sankhya with bhakti. We talked of yoga, Astanga yoga with bhakti. Now onwards, now it comes back to pure bhakti again. So now we'll talk bhakti, which is performed in 3 modes and further. Okay. So I hope that was anyone have any comments on this like whole meditation, any Were you able to connect with these verses or appreciate these shlokas?
Prabhu, I have a question. So here Kapil Dev is talking and he's saying he's himself Bhagavan and he's telling, Bhagavan and the mother Lakshmi, who is the mother, like, I'm trying to understand.
What is the question? Like, Kapila Muni is telling the process of Sankhya with Bhakti, Astanga Yoga with Bhakti. In Astanga Yoga, the person should come to a stage where he's meditating on the form and then individual limbs, and he's actually giving. See, like recently someone asked me this question that how did Dhruv, no, yeah, something like, how does yogis even see the form of the Lord? I said, like, if the meditation is there, they follow the Shastra. The Shastra gives a description of every aspect of the Lord, and based on that, when they are purified, then they start meditating. Oh, this is a lotus feet, etc., etc. But it's all based on the Shastra description. So Kapila Muni is giving that for the Astanga yogis and also for devotees. We meditate on this aspect. So
I understand that, Prabhu, but I'm just saying that he himself he could say, like, my lotus feet, my hands, my eyes,
yeah, I
Even
mean,
like Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says that the Lord, I always get confused at why does he say like that? He can himself say, at the end he says, surrender unto me, I am the everything. But the Lord, he says, one yogi should
so
meditate on the Lord.
yeah. So, one point to explain, if you see in Bhagavad Gita, like in Bhakti Yoga chapters, he says Mam, right? Man mana bhava mad bhakto mad yaji. Then if you see the Gyan Yogi section, then he talks of Krishna as third person because for a Gyan Yogi, he's still not connected with the personal aspect. So now with Devoti and Kapila Dev, we can already say that rasa, that is a higher rasa than the meditation which is actually here. So to
Right.
guide those who are not in one of those five rasas, then they actually come step by step. So he cannot say himself, right? He wouldn't say himself because that's already a different higher rasa. Here it is a step by step coming to the point. Now there's no one of the five rasas is not revealed up to this point. They'll come later. But some like how like 13th chapter onward is like third person, and then Bhakti Yoga is direct person. So one way you can take that point as a connecting point. Okay, everyone. Any points on these verses of meditation?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I like the point where, when you hear Harikatha from a pure devotee, it is much easier to meditate on the form of the Lord.
Yes, yes. Prabhupada mentioned that if you are not doing Bhagavad Seva and if you are just doing Archana Seva without doing Bhagavad Marg, right? So we have Bhagavad Marg and then Pancharatrik Vidi. So if you're doing one, if you're just doing Archana without doing Bhagavatam, then after some time you'll be like, why I'm doing this? Is this a marble, right? Stone. Why I have to cook for this stone? Prabhupada made this point. You'll think this is a burden my guru has given, like a stone, and I have to every day do all these artis. What is this? So even when you're worshiping deity, it's so important to have that Bhagavad aspect. That's when we appreciate. So when we are reading here, now we are meditating on the form in that way, right? So yes, meditation, hearing is actually so important, and through that hearing, we actually get the personal aspects.
Prabhuji, I like the point that Lord Kapila Dev Lord himself as Kapila Dev is saying that he stands on the lotus of his devotee's heart. So we can, as you said, we can meditate on Prabhupada. Lord is standing on Prabhupada's heart.
Shyam Sundar Krishna.
Shyam Sundar Krishna.
Prabhuji, I like the point. Bhrityanugraha Kataram.
Very nice. We can remember that. Britya Anugrah Kataram. He's so eager to actually show Anugrah to his servants. Yes. Any other points? Anyone?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
It's very, very interesting and like how to meditate and everything is good. Like Astanga Yoga is there, but we are doing that Bhakti Yoga, but it will help also. And today is like Vara Dvadashi, and it's mentioned in one sloka also. You mentioned that Lord Vara today also.
Yeah. Thank
Hare Krishna.
you. So thank you so much. So we'll end here. And tomorrow is our very special day. please come to the temple. Maharaj will give the class